Chapter 1851. Soon, the plane departed from Tokyo Airport. After an hour in the air, it landed at Osaka Airport right on schedule. Following standard protocol, first-class passengers disembarked first. Zian, who had no luggage and was seated in an aisle seat, stood up immediately and headed for the exit the moment the plane came to a complete stop. As the cabin door opened, Zian stepped out swiftly. To avoid any delays, the private jet arranged by the Banks family was scheduled to take off in just half an hour. Therefore, she needed to head straight to the business jet terminal to complete security checks before proceeding to the hangar where the private jet was parked. The procedures for private jets differed from those of commercial airlines, as regular terminals only serve standard aviation passengers. All travelers using private or business jets undergo security screening and boarding at a dedicated business jet terminal. By the time Charlie exited the plane with his suitcase in hand, Zian was already nowhere to be seen. Charlie couldn't help but smile to himself. Is she really that eager to leave? He thought. The more she wants to rush back, the more I want to keep her here. With that thought, he casually headed toward the business jet terminal while pulling out his phone to call Isaac Cameron. Isaac, have you finalized everything we discussed? Isaac Cameron replied confidently, Master, everything is in place. You don't need to worry. Charlie nodded. Good. Keep monitoring the situation. I'll be there shortly. Understood, Master. When Charlie arrived at the business jet terminal and passed through security without any issues, he spotted Isaac Cameron waiting for him. Isaac quickly stepped forward and whispered, Master, everyone else has already boarded. The woman in black you mentioned on WeChat just cleared security and took a shuttle bus to hangar number 12. That's the aircraft you identified. He added, by the way, our jet is parked in hangar number 13, right next to theirs. Our departure time is just after theirs, they'll take off first. Excellent. Charlie chuckled. Let's go to the hangar. The show is about to begin. Charlie and Isaac boarded a VIP shuttle bus that transported them directly to hangar number 13. When the bus arrived, the Gulfstream jet that had carried Charlie and his team to Japan was already waiting. After reaching Tokyo earlier, the aircraft had flown straight to Osaka and remained parked there the entire time. As soon as Charlie arrived, Don Albert, Liam, and the others exited the plane to greet him, standing respectfully at the cabin entrance. When Charlie stepped off the vehicle, everyone bowed deeply and greeted him in unison, Master Wade. Charlie waved his hand dismissively. Skip the formalities. Get on the plane quickly, I don't want to miss the fun. Taking the lead, Charlie boarded the aircraft, with the others following closely behind. Once everyone was on board, the flight attendant closed the cabin door and turned to Isaac Cameron. Mr. Wade, are we ready for departure? Isaac glanced at Charlie. After receiving a nod, he replied, let's proceed. The aircraft was then slowly towed out of the hangar by ground vehicles. The captain contacted the control tower to report their status and request takeoff clearance. The tower responded that a private jet bound for Highland Falls was ahead of them and instructed them to queue behind it for departure. Chapter 1852. The captain immediately picked up the intercom and made an announcement. Mr. Wade, we've received taxi clearance from the tower. We'll be lining up behind the China shipping aircraft at hangar number 12. At the moment, there are several planes waiting for takeoff at Osaka Airport, and the expected waiting time is about 40 minutes. Hearing that their aircraft was directly behind the Banks family's plane, Charlie turned to Isaac Cameron and said firmly, Go. Head to the cockpit. Isaac followed without hesitation, squeezing into the slightly cramped cockpit alongside Charlie. As soon as he entered, Isaac asked, which one is the China shipping aircraft? The captain pointed through the windshield at a plane that had just been pushed out of the hangar and was beginning to turn. That's it, he said. Isaac nodded sharply and urged, follow it closely. The captain immediately increased thrust, and their aircraft began taxiing forward, tailing the Banks family's plane. Charlie watched the aircraft ahead, its wings trembling slightly as it moved. A cold smile spread across his face. Meanwhile, aboard the Banks family's Airbus A320, more than 50 elite members sat neatly arranged in rows. A middle-aged man glanced toward Zian, who sat in the front with a composed and serious expression. Smiling, he stepped forward and said, "Miss Zien, thanks to your leadership, this operation was a complete success. The Matsumoto family has been wiped out, no survivors, and we're making a clean escape. As long as our planes take off together, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police will never catch us." Others immediately echoed his praise. "Yes, Miss Zien. Your command was flawless. When we return, the Patriarch will definitely promote you. Don't forget about us when that happens." Zien replied calmly, "Like all of you, I am merely a subordinate of the Banks family. As long as you perform well, the Patriarch will naturally reward you." She continued, "Once we return, I will report everything truthfully to the Patriarch and ensure that everyone receives the credit they deserve. You have my word." Hearing this, smiles spread across everyone's faces, and they expressed their gratitude repeatedly. Although they were martial artists, they were still bound to the material world, serving the Banks family primarily for wealth and status. Zien's promise to vouch for them clearly meant generous rewards. Cheers erupted inside the cabin as the group clapped excitedly. At that moment, Zien's phone vibrated. She picked it up and saw that Zane was calling. She immediately answered respectfully, "Patriarch." Zane's voice came through the line. "Zien, how are things on your end? Are you about to take off smoothly?" Zien replied promptly, "Patriarch, our aircraft is already in the takeoff queue. We should be airborne within half an hour at most." Zane laughed with satisfaction. "Excellent." Zien continued sincerely, "Patriarch, it is my honor to serve you and the Banks family." Zane chuckled. "If only we had more people like you. You've been invaluable. I know you've been wanting to return to your hometown. After this, I'll grant you leave until the Lantern Festival." Zien responded gratefully, "Thank you, Patriarch. I've truly been wanting to go back. Having time to rest would be wonderful." Zane said approvingly, "You've done extremely well this time. You deserve a proper break." Just as Zien was about to thank him again, a sudden roar shook the air. Through the windows, multiple helicopters surged in from every direction, while armored personnel carriers sped across the tarmac, rapidly surrounding the aircraft. A booming voice echoed from a helicopter loudspeaker overhead. "Attention below. This is the Japanese Self-Defense Force. You are completely surrounded." Chapter 1853. At this very moment, more than 50 masters from the Banks family aboard the plane were completely taken aback. With the aircraft preparing for takeoff, everyone had expected a smooth retreat from Japan, eager to return home and receive their rewards. Zien had even received a series of praises from Zane over the phone. Who could have imagined that the situation would take such a drastic turn in an instant? Suddenly, more than a dozen helicopters from the Japanese Self-Defense Forces, along with over 30 armored vehicles, surrounded Zien and her group. The Japanese Self-Defense Force is essentially the nation's military. It was established after Japan's defeat in the war. Due to restrictions imposed on defeated countries, Japan restructured its military into what is now known as the Self-Defense Force. Despite the name, the Self-Defense Force is fully equipped and trained to standards nearly identical to those of a conventional army. The masters of the Banks family were undeniably powerful. However, no matter how strong their martial skills were, they were nothing compared to the overwhelming firepower of a modern military. Against firearms, their strength appeared almost childish. Moreover, the units deployed by the Japanese Self-Defense Forces were elite anti-terrorism special forces, numbering between 600 and 700 personnel, an astonishing show of force. This contingent represented some of the most elite troops within the Japanese Self-Defense Forces. Armed with advanced equipment and having clearly laid a trap in advance, the odds were overwhelmingly stacked against the Banks family masters. Zien, who was usually calm and collected, was now seized by panic. She shouted at those around her, "What's going on? How did the Japanese Self-Defense Force find us? Who leaked our information?" Everyone around her was filled with dread, uncertain who among them might have betrayed the group. They all understood the severity of their situation. The chaos they had caused in Tokyo had thoroughly enraged both the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department and the Japanese government, which were now determined to hunt them down at any cost. As a result, strict exit controls had been imposed across Tokyo and the surrounding regions to ensure their capture. Now that they were completely surrounded by the Japanese self-defense forces, it was obvious they were in serious trouble. Meanwhile, Zane's call was still connected. Hearing the commotion on the line, he hurriedly asked, "Zian, what's happening?" Zian replied in a trembling voice, "Patriarch, our plane has been surrounded by the Japanese self-defense force." "What?" Zane felt his head spin upon hearing this. "This is bad, this is catastrophic," he thought to himself. The Banks family sent nearly 100 people to Japan this time. Aside from a few logistics personnel, all the core masters are on that plane. Those more than 50 people represent at least 80% of the Banks family's combat strength. And Zian herself is a general among them. If these people fall into Japanese hands, the law states that the main offenders could face the death penalty, while accomplices could receive life imprisonment. The implications were so severe that Zane nearly lost control of his emotions. He asked nervously, "Zian, what exactly happened? Was there an information leak, or is there a traitor among us?" Zian replied anxiously, "I don't know, we were just preparing to go home." At that moment, a loud announcement echoed from outside the plane. "This is the Japanese self-defense force. You are ordered to immediately shut down the aircraft engines and open the door for inspection. Failure to comply will result in aggressive action." The captain and co-pilot inside the cockpit were the first to panic. They could clearly see a gunship hovering above them, its large-caliber cannon aimed directly at the aircraft. In the face of such overwhelming military firepower, the civilian airliners stood no chance of resistance. If they refused to shut down the engines, the helicopter could easily turn the plane into Swiss cheese. Without waiting for instructions from Zian, they immediately shut down the aircraft's engines. Chapter 1854. At this moment, another broadcast blared from outside. "This is the Japanese self-defense force. You are ordered to open all hatches immediately. Failure to comply will result in an assault by our special forces." The captain rushed out of the cockpit in panic and shouted, "They're demanding we open the hatch. If we don't comply, they'll attack." Instantly, chaos erupted inside the cabin. The so-called elite masters were completely panicked. Some jumped to their feet and moved around frantically like headless chickens, desperately searching for a way out. More than 50 people, like cockroaches trapped inside a glass jar, were overwhelmed by fear. Zian felt the same panic, but deep down she knew that opening the hatch meant nothing less than surrender. The massacre of the Matsumoto family had enraged the entire nation of Japan. If she led everyone to surrender now, the Japanese government would show no mercy and would retaliate with the harshest punishments imaginable. Yet, if they refused to surrender, the consequences could be even more terrifying. Special forces around the world generally use similar tactics when dealing with terrorism. They would first use directional explosives to blast open doors and windows, then throw flashbangs and tear gas into the cabin. Flashbangs release an intense burst of light that can instantly blind people. Once their vision is lost, they would be completely vulnerable. Tear gas would only make things worse. It causes violent coughing, renders people incapable of fighting, and severely irritates the eyes, causing uncontrollable tearing that further destroys visibility. With flashbangs and tear gas combined, the occupants of the cabin could be incapacitated long before the special forces even entered. Many would be forced to surrender out of sheer desperation. In her despair, Zian turned to Zane on the phone and asked, "Patriarch, what do you think we should do?" "What should we do?" Zane muttered weakly, his anguish unmistakable. The elite force of the Banks family was on the verge of being completely destroyed. The consequences for the Banks family would be catastrophic. Rebuilding such a team would take years, if it was even possible at all. Recruiting a single top-tier master often cost more than recruiting 100 ordinary people. The resources required to support so many elite experts were astronomical. Even worse, if these 50-plus individuals fell into the hands of the Japanese government, whether they were executed or sentenced to life imprisonment, the Banks family would still be obligated to provide long-term financial support to their families. This was a core strategy the Banks family used to secure absolute loyalty. High salaries and guaranteed monthly subsidies exceeding $1 million for their families in case of death or imprisonment were the main incentives that attracted these masters. It was precisely this financial commitment that allowed the Banks family to build such a terrifying force of top-tier experts. However, if all these people were captured, their families would instantly become a massive financial burden. Worse still, the Banks family could not simply abandon them. Doing so would destroy their credibility and make it impossible to recruit top masters in the future. This time, the Banks family was facing an unprecedented and devastating loss. Chapter 1855. At this very moment of intense deadlock, the head of Japan's Homeland Security Department had already arrived at Osaka Airport on a special flight. Accompanying him was the director of the Tokyo Warning Agency. Previously, the two of them had been under tremendous pressure while conducting a comprehensive investigation in Tokyo, desperately trying to capture a group of murderers and give both the public and high-ranking officials a proper explanation. However, to their astonishment, these murderers were exceptionally cunning, leaving behind no useful clues whatsoever. Just as they were preparing to expand the scope of the investigation, a mysterious informant suddenly tipped them off that the murderers had already reached Osaka and were planning to flee to China by private jet. This news instantly shook the entire Homeland Security Department to its core. If this group managed to escape, the horrific massacre that had stunned the entire nation might remain unsolved forever. At that point, both the Japanese Metropolitan Police Department and the Homeland Security Department would face catastrophic backlash, drawing furious condemnation from the public. As a result, the Homeland Security Department made a swift decision to seize control of the case from the Metropolitan Police Department and immediately ordered the self-defense forces stationed in Osaka to prevent the aircraft from taking off at any cost. With tens of thousands of troops deployed in Osaka, the Japanese self-defense force promptly dispatched its most elite special operations units to Osaka Airport upon receiving orders from the Homeland Security Bureau. At the same time, the Homeland Security Department activated an emergency response plan that included the mobilization of a fighter squadron. If the special forces failed to stop the private jet, the self-defense forces F-35 fighter jets would immediately take off and attempt to force the aircraft to return to Osaka Airport before it could exit Japanese airspace. As soon as the Homeland Security Department's special aircraft landed, the official in charge grabbed his phone and demanded, "What's the situation now? Is the aircraft under control?" On the other end of the line, the on-site commander replied without hesitation, "The target aircraft has been completely surrounded by armored vehicles. There is absolutely no chance of escape. However, the suspects have not yet been captured. We are preparing for a forced assault." "Understood," the head of the Homeland Security Department replied through clenched teeth. "Give them one final minute. If they refuse to surrender, initiate a live-fire assault. These heartless criminals must be eliminated decisively. We need to give the people of Japan a clear explanation." Following his order, four boarding vehicles equipped with lifting ladders slowly advanced toward Banks' private jet from both sides. Four fully armed assault teams stood ready beneath the aircraft. Once the boarding vehicles reached position, they would storm the cabin, blow open the doors, and deploy flashbangs and tear gas as the opening wave of the attack. Their weapons, American-made assault rifles, had all been carefully inspected and loaded, boasting terrifying firepower. In a direct firefight, Banks' men would be utterly outmatched. Inside the cabin, Xian stared out the window as the boarding vehicles drew closer. A wave of anxiety surged through her heart, yet she had no idea what she should do next. Someone nearby, pale with fear, blurted out, "Let's open the hatch and surrender. If they attack, we'll get caught in the crossfire and die for nothing." "Surrender?" another person roared angrily. "Are you fucking insane? I personally killed 4 members of the Matsumoto family. If I surrender, I'm dead for sure." "The death penalty doesn't scare me," another person snapped back. "Japan drags executions out forever. Look at the Shinrikyo cult that attacked the Tokyo subway. Shoko Asahara committed his crimes in 1995 and wasn't executed until 2018. We could rot in prison for more than 10 years before they kill us. That's a hell of a lot better than getting shot like dogs right now." "That's right," someone else shouted, clenching his fist. "With our strength, we'd rule the prison. Who the hell would dare mess with us? We'd still live comfortably." Why wouldn't we choose that? These words quickly swayed most of the group. When survival was on the line, everything else became meaningless. Even life imprisonment seemed far preferable to immediate death. One after another, they turned their gazes toward Xian and urged, "Miss Xian, let's surrender." Chapter 1856. Yes. Surrender. As long as the green hills remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. On the phone, Zane let out a long, exhausted sigh and said to Xian, "Xian, surrender for now. I'll do everything in my power to negotiate with the Japanese authorities and find a way to get you out." The tension in Xian's heart gradually loosened. Though still unwilling, she nodded and replied, "Patriarch, I understand, take care of yourself. If you can't save me, then we'll just leave everything to fate." Zane's heart ached deeply, but he still said firmly, "Believe me. I will save you no matter what." "Fine. If you really think so." Xian snapped irritably before hanging up the phone. She turned to the flight attendant and commanded coldly, "Open the hatches." The flight attendant did not dare hesitate and immediately opened all 4 cabin hatches at the front and rear of the aircraft. From outside, harsh shouts rang out, "Everyone, put your hands on your heads and line up to come down the spiral staircase. Anyone who dares resist will be shot on the spot." Xian let out a heavy sigh, stood up, and looked at everyone with a complicated expression. "Since fate brought us together, I hope all of you take care of yourselves." After speaking, she raised her hands above her head and stepped out of the cabin first. The moment she exited the aircraft, the deafening roar of helicopters filled the air, and violent gusts of wind whipped her long hair and clothes wildly. Countless gun barrels were aimed straight at her from below, and someone shouted sharply, "Come down slowly. Keep your hands on your head where we can see them." Left with no choice, Xian obediently complied. As she descended the spiral staircase step by step, her heart sank deeper and deeper as she thought about her uncertain future. She knew very well that she was the main target. Once arrested, the others would inevitably expose her identity as the mastermind behind everything. Unless Zane could truly pull off a miracle and rescue her, the death penalty was almost certainly waiting for her. The moment she reached the bottom of the stairs, several heavily armed members of the self-defense force rushed forward, slammed her to the ground, and ruthlessly cuffed her hands behind her back. Soon after, the remaining 50 or so members of the Banks family were forced off the plane one by one. Each of them was handcuffed, made to squat on the ground, with the cold barrels of assault rifles pressed firmly against the backs of their heads. Even the flight crew was not spared. They were all detained as accomplices. Inside the cockpit, Charlie stood quietly, a cold sneer slowly spreading across his lips as he watched the Banks family being rounded up. These 50-odd people represented the core strength and foundation of the Banks family. Now that all of them had fallen into the hands of the Japanese government, the Banks family had suffered a devastating blow. "Banks family," Charlie murmured coldly. Charlie, will make sure you pay in full for everything the Anti-Leaf Alliance has done." Chapter 1857. Once the members of the Banks family were fully secured, the Japanese self-defense forces immediately began clearing the area and restoring order at the airport. 3 buses were brought in first. Their windows were reinforced with steel protective nets, and under the strict supervision of the self-defense forces, everyone, including Xian, was escorted aboard one by one. To completely eliminate any possibility of escape, the Japanese self-defense forces placed 2 sets of handcuffs on each individual and added additional restraints. At the same time, they deliberately separated everyone and assigned a dedicated guard to each detainee. The buses were arranged with 2 seats on each side. As a result, every handcuffed member of the Banks family was seated by the window, while an armed self-defense force soldier sat beside them, ready to act at the slightest provocation, leaving absolutely no room for escape. In addition, 10 fully armed soldiers stood in the aisle of each bus, closely monitoring every detainee. Any abnormal movement would be met with immediate and lethal force. Xian leaned weakly against the window, her face pale as she stared out through the steel mesh. The airport was brightly illuminated. Just hours ago, she should have been boarding a plane to return home in triumph. Instead, she had become a prisoner. She could not figure out where everything had gone wrong. But one thing was painfully clear to her now: there was absolutely no way out this time. Before long, all the remaining bank's family members were forced onto the buses by the self-defense forces. The 3 buses slowly pulled away, escorted by 10 wheeled armored vehicles, and left the airport grounds. To ensure absolute security, the Japanese Homeland Security Department decided to transport the more than 50 bank's family members to a self-defense force base in Osaka. The base was guarded by tens of thousands of soldiers, making any rescue attempt nothing more than a delusional fantasy. As the convoy departed, it passed by the Gulfstream jet where Charlie was located. The small private jet had a low fuselage and could seat only about 10 people, making it easy for Xian to see inside from the bus. As the bus rolled past, Xian glanced toward the Gulfstream's cockpit. Compared to the armored convoy, it looked like the cab of an off-road vehicle beside an ordinary car. Just as despair flooded her heart, her pupils suddenly shrank. She saw a familiar figure sitting inside the cockpit. Her heartbeat instantly accelerated. That man, the one who had sat beside her on the flight from Tokyo to Osaka. Her mind exploded with rage and confusion. Why is he on a private jet? Why is it following behind us? Why is he looking at me like he's mocking me? And why did he pretend to be just an ordinary passenger on the plane? Countless questions stormed her mind. In that instant, Xian finally understood. The person who had leaked her whereabouts was very likely the Chinese man who had traveled with her to Osaka. "Who the hell are you?" she screamed inwardly. Meanwhile, Charlie didn't care in the slightest that Xian had recognized him. He calmly looked back at her through the window, a mocking smile curling at the corners of his lips. Chapter 1858. When Charlie noticed Xian staring at him, a playful grin spread across his face. He looked directly at her, raised his hand, waved cheerfully, and called out loudly, "Hi, beauty." Xian shot him a vicious glare, her eyes blazing with hatred. Although she couldn't hear his voice, the shape of his lips unmistakably formed the words, "Hi, beauty." From Charlie's smug and teasing expression, Xian instantly realized that she had already fallen completely into his hands. Her teeth clenched so hard they nearly cracked as she glared at him with boundless resentment. Just as the distance between the bus and the private jet narrowed to its closest point, Charlie suddenly lifted his right hand and slowly dragged it across his neck in a cutting gesture. That single motion detonated Xian's fury. She sprang up from her seat and roared hoarsely, "You bastard! I'll fucking kill you with my own hands." Charlie's hearing was extremely sharp, and he caught her furious shout perfectly. Instead of being afraid, he grinned even wider and replied casually, "I'll be waiting." Xian read his lips clearly. At that moment, she was absolutely certain, this man was the one responsible for everything that had happened to her and her more than 50 subordinates. She wanted nothing more than to tear Charlie apart alive. But reality was cruel. The convoy had already begun accelerating, quickly passing by Charlie's jet as it exited the airport and headed toward the self-defense force base. At the same time, airport ground crews began clearing the area, and the control tower resumed normal operations. The captain beside Charlie announced, "The control tower has cleared us for takeoff." "Perfect," Charlie replied with a satisfied smile. "I've been away long enough. Time to head back." The aircraft taxied swiftly to the runway, accelerated, and lifted into the sky, leaving Japan behind. Though Charlie had left Japan, the country itself plunged into chaos. Every television station began broadcasting breaking news. Anchors excitedly reported that the shocking Matsumoto family massacre had resulted in the arrest of 57 suspects. The broadcasts even aired real footage of the operation, armed helicopters hovering overhead, armored vehicles sealing off the runway, and self-defense force soldiers surrounding the aircraft. The overwhelming scene left viewers across the nation utterly stunned. The news spread like wildfire throughout Japan. Meanwhile, Zane was staying at a hot spring hotel in Aomori Prefecture. The moment he saw the report, he completely lost control. He smashed everything he could get his hands on, including the wall-mounted television. This incident had not only caused massive losses to the Banks family, it had also dragged their name through the mud. Old Lord Banks, who was in Eastcliff, received the news almost immediately. He called Zane in a fit of rage and disbelief, shouting, What the hell is going on? More than 50 people captured by the Japanese self-defense forces. How did this happen? I handed everything over to you, and this is the disaster you give me. Are you trying to drive me insane? Zane clenched his teeth, barely suppressing his fury as he replied hoarsely, Dad. I don't know how the information leaked or who betrayed us, but believe me, I never wanted things to turn out this way. He grabbed his hair tightly, his face twisted with pain, and continued through gritted teeth, even if Xian's identity is disgraceful, she is still my flesh and blood. Now that she's been arrested, she could very well face the Japanese death penalty. Do you have any idea what that feels like, as her father? Chapter 1859. Ruoli is only 21 years old this year. Her actual age is 1 year younger than Jiu. However, from her birth until the age of 18, Xin didn't know her existence. Ruoli's biological mother, whose real name is Roma, is the eldest daughter of the He family of China's 4 major martial arts families and one of Xin's personal bodyguards. Roma was not only beautiful, but also very capable. She was almost the leader of the Su family bodyguards at the time. She was 3 years older than Xin. When Xin was 15 years old, he went abroad to study. For his safety, Qingfeng asked the He family to come over and became Xin's personal bodyguard. That year, Roma was 18 years old and had just grown up. Since that year, she has been with Xin. Accompany him abroad, accompany him to study, accompany him to hone his family business, and accompany him to travel around the world. Even when Xin frantically pursued his current wife Leona, Roma had been secretly guarding. She joined the world to protect Xin when he was ignorant, and had been guarding him for more than 10 years. She had no understanding of other men at all, so it was natural for her to have a secret love for Xin, who she was most familiar with. Roma has always kept this love in her heart because of the differences in their identities, ages, and family background. Until Xin married Leona, Roma, who was nearly 30 years old, still didn't reveal what she thought of him. In the second year of Jiu's birth, Xin was 30 and Roma was 33. Xin encountered a plot overseas. Roma tried her best to save him at the risk of her life, but she herself lost an arm because of this. Roma, who became a disabled person, had a sharp decline in combat capability, so Xin had to let her retire and return to his home early. When Roma was leaving, Xin was also persevering. After all, for the 30-year-old at the time, Roma had been with him almost every step of half of his life. Therefore, he asked Roma if there was anything he could do for her. Roma hesitated again and again, expressing the feelings she had buried in her heart for many years. Xin, who is usually hard-hearted, was also moved by Roma's confession. That night, he had an excuse to go out and spent the GHT out with Roma. After that night, Roma left Xin and returned to her hometown in northeast China. After more than 9 months, Ruoli fell to the ground. Ruoli did not have the surname Su at first, but followed her mother's surname. The so-called Ruoli means Ruaji Ruoli. It also represents Roma's special feeling for Xin in her heart. Ruoli has been held in the palm of the hand by the He family since she was a child. She has never been to school. From the age of 2 to 18, she has been practicing ancient martial arts. Therefore, at the age of 18, she surpassed her mother at the age of 18 and became the strongest young woman in the He family. After becoming an adult at the age of 18, Roma told her her life experience. In Roma's description, Xin is a good father who values love and justice. The reason why he never cared about Ruoli is because he never knew her existence. Therefore, Roma gave Ruoli 2 choices. Stay and continue to practice martial arts in his family. Or leave home to work for her biological father. Chapter 1860. Xian took her time weighing her options and ultimately chose the latter. Deep down, she faintly sensed that this was the path her mother had hoped she would take. At the beginning, Zane was completely unaware of Xian's background. However, he could tell that this girl possessed exceptional strength, was highly trainable, and reminded him vaguely of Kairi from years past. Following her mother's instructions, Xian deliberately concealed her past from Zane. Still, the shrewd and calculating Lord Banks eventually noticed subtle irregularities surrounding her. He could not shake the feeling that there was something strange about the way Zayn treated this young woman. This uneasiness made him highly vigilant. Fearing that Zayn might be a spy planted by rival forces, he secretly ordered a full investigation into her identity. By tracing clues step by step, the trail eventually led him back to Kyrie. After discovering that Zayn might very well be Zayn's daughter, Lord Banks instructed his people to secretly obtain hair samples from both Zayn and Zayn for a covert DNA comparison. When the results confirmed his suspicions, he revealed everything to Zayn. Zayn was stunned. Shock was quickly followed by overwhelming emotion. Only then did he fully understand why Kyrie had been so deeply affected back then. After that single night years ago, she had not only given birth to their child but had also raised her into an outstanding individual, quietly sending her back to protect Zayn from the shadows. However, Zayn also felt deep fear regarding Zayn's identity. She was, after all, the product of his immoral affair. If his wife and children were to discover the truth, his reputation would be completely destroyed. Given his wife's personality, she would not hesitate to divorce him. Although nearly 20 years had passed since the mistake, after discussions with Lord Banks, they reached a tacit agreement: they would pretend nothing was known. Since Zayn herself wished to conceal her identity and refused to acknowledge him as her father, Zayn saw no reason to take the initiative to recognize her publicly. Thus, both sides kept their secrets. Life continued as if nothing had changed. Over the years, Zayn took special care of Zayn. He trained her personally and groomed her into a core leader within the Banks family's master team. Even if he could not openly express his fatherly love, he was determined to secure her future. He wanted her to reach the peak of her abilities within the Banks family and live without worrying about food, shelter, or survival. Yet, he never imagined that a single trip to Japan would destroy all of Zayn's prospects, and even threaten her life. How could he not be in agony? Lord Banks understood Zayn's torment. He remained silent for a long time before finally sighing and saying, "The situation facing the Banks family is extremely grim. We've lost too many people at once. This news will spread before dawn. Right now, we're like tigers with broken teeth. I'm afraid the Wade family will be the first to smell blood." He continued gravely, "You must focus on the bigger picture. Return to China immediately so we can plan together. We need to decide our next move." Zayn's voice trembled as he said, "Dad, I have one request. I hope you'll agree to it." Lord Banks replied calmly, "Say it." Zayn looked straight at him and said firmly, "No matter what, we must find a way to rescue Zayn." Lord Banks frowned slightly and replied, "Zayn, this matter is extremely vicious. It's equivalent to slapping the Japanese government across the face in front of the whole world. If we force her out, the consequences could be far worse than you imagine." Zayn said solemnly, "Zayn was involved because of my decision. I'll take full responsibility." He added, "The Japanese government only wants to catch the culprits and calm public outrage. They've already detained over 50 of our people, releasing only a few. Their true goal hasn't been achieved yet. Isn't there a way for both sides to save face?" Chapter 1861. Save face. Lord Banks reacted emotionally. In this world, everything has a price. People say betraying one's father is worse than the sky falling. But give him 100 million, or 10 billion, and there's always a number that can make him bow his head. He paused, then said coldly, "However, the key issue is how much this face really costs. If it takes 10 billion, or even 100 billion, are you prepared to pay that?" Zayn fell silent. He desperately wanted to save Zayn. She was his flesh and blood. Even a tiger wouldn't eat its own cub. How could he stand by and watch her die? Moreover, Zayn was a top-tier expert of the Banks family and still very young. If she survived, she could contribute immensely to the family's future. But emotions aside, every decision had to account for cost. If the price truly reached tens or even hundreds of billions, the Banks family would never agree. After all, apart from him and the old man, no one else knew Zayn was his daughter. To everyone else, she was merely a subordinate. Spending tens of millions to save a subordinate was acceptable. For a peak expert like Xian, even a few $100 million might be reluctantly approved. But anything beyond that would raise suspicion. Even if Zane forced it through, outsiders would inevitably speculate. Seeing Zane's silence, Lord Banks spoke gently, "Zane, if Xian is truly your daughter and my granddaughter, I want her alive more than anyone. But business must always balance gains and losses. If the losses outweigh the gains, forcing the issue would be foolish." Zane asked hoarsely, "Dad, what price is the Banks family willing to pay for Xian? We've already spent heavily to rescue Fitz and Zara this time." After thinking for a moment, Lord Banks said, "Xian's status is different. She is, at best, a concubine-born child, and her existence is already disgraceful. She cannot be compared to Zara." He continued coldly, "Set the ceiling at 1 billion. Keep the books clean. Anything more will raise too many questions, especially from your wife." Zane hesitated briefly, then nodded. "All right. I'll try. I was planning to go to Osaka to find someone suitable to negotiate." Lord Banks immediately warned, "Don't go. The Japanese government already knows you're behind this. Right now, they don't want to escalate things with the Banks family. As long as they punish the perpetrators, they're willing to let the rest slide. But if you act recklessly and linger in Japan, and someone leaks your involvement, they could easily change their stance and target you directly." Zane thought carefully and realized his father was right. In a way, the Japanese government had already given the Banks family some face. As long as justice appeared to be served, they would not pursue the family further. But if he openly interfered in Osaka, it would look shameless. At that point, the Japanese government could turn hostile without hesitation. After a long sigh, Zane said, "I understand, Dad. I'll return from Aomori early tomorrow morning." Chapter 1862. "Absolutely," Lord Banks replied. "You must learn to adapt and stop focusing solely on Xian. The situation facing the Banks family has deteriorated sharply. Once we return, we need to convene an internal meeting and discuss countermeasures. If we fail to recover our lost strength quickly, other families will seize the opportunity to strike." "Understood," Zane responded. At the same time, in Eastcliff, within the Wade family, the recent turmoil surrounding the Banks family in Japan sent shockwaves throughout Eastcliff. The news caught all the major families completely off guard. No one had expected that the #1 family in China, the Banks family, would suffer such a massive setback on foreign soil. While this news spelled disaster for the Banks family, it brought immense relief and opportunity to everyone else. The Banks family had always wielded overwhelming power in Eastcliff. The only family that had ever truly rivaled them was the Wade family. Compared to the Banks family, the remaining families were separated by a gap as wide as night and day. Now that the Banks family had been severely crippled, that gap had shrunk overnight. Naturally, many families were secretly celebrating the Banks family's misfortune. Among them, the Wade family was without question the most excited. Lord Wade paced back and forth in the villa's living room, barely able to contain his excitement as he exclaimed, "The Banks family's core figures have always been a thorn in my side, especially that Xian. She's young, ruthless, and frighteningly powerful. I never imagined she'd completely collapse in Japan. This is fucking wonderful." "Exactly," Cynthia said with equal excitement. This time, the Banks family suffered catastrophic losses. Their elite experts were wiped out in Japan. They won't be able to recover anytime soon. Lord Wade nodded and asked, "What's the situation with John's meeting with Yuhiko Ito?" Korin shrugged and replied, "John met Yuhiko Ito at the hospital, but it seems he has no interest in discussing business right now. His attitude is cold, he's clearly not in the mood." Lord Wade replied calmly, "That's understandable. Even an ordinary person would have trouble accepting such a loss, let alone someone like Yuhiko Ito. Depression is inevitable." Korin asked, "Should I have John come back, or keep him in Tokyo for now?" After a brief pause, Lord Wade said, "Let him stay in Tokyo for the time being. Check in on Yuhiko Ito again in a couple of days, his mood may improve." With the Lunar New Year approaching, let John remain there until the 9th day of the first lunar month before returning. Understood, Corin said. Cynthia, overhearing them, added eagerly, I'm planning to go to Oris Hill tomorrow morning. If Charlie is willing to come back for the new year, that would be perfect. Corin chuckled. It would be great if Charlie comes back, but we can't force him. Lord Wade suddenly spoke seriously. The Wade family's foundation isn't particularly strong. If Charlie returns, it would not only boost our prestige but also help us secure a marriage alliance in advance. He continued bluntly, even if he can't marry Zara from the Banks family, Stephanie from the Sun family is absolutely within reach. If we form a marriage alliance, we could unite forces and suppress the Banks family together. Chapter 1863. Charlie's plane landed at Oris Hill Airport at around 10 o'clock that night. To keep Claire in suspense, Charlie deliberately chose not to inform her that he would be returning that evening. Isaac Cameron had already arranged a convoy to pick them up. After disembarking, they split into several vehicles for the journey back. Don Albert and Liam left separately, while Isaac Cameron took the initiative to personally drive Charlie back to Thompson first. Charlie accepted without hesitation. As Isaac Cameron drove, he glanced at Charlie with a grin and said, Master, we really fucked the Banks family hard this time. If they ever figure it out, they'll probably be desperate for revenge. That's fine, Charlie replied casually with a smile. The Banks family has far bigger problems now. They lost too many people at once, it'll take them years to recover. Right now, they're probably drowning in chaos. True, Isaac Cameron sighed. Zion Banks, who was distracted by Eastcliffe's power struggles, ended up dragged into this disaster because of you. The Banks family took a brutal hit. Zion? Charlie frowned slightly. Who is she? Isaac explained, she's the woman you sat next to on the plane. Zion is considered one of the Banks family's strongest talents. Charlie raised his eyebrows. The Banks family's heir? Not exactly, Isaac replied. She joined the Banks family at 18, and it's only been 3 years. But in that short time, she's made a name for herself and proven her strength. Charlie nodded thoughtfully. It's a shame I didn't get a chance to talk to her. Isaac laughed. Master, she might be impressive among ordinary people, but compared to you, she's nothing. If you wanted, one word from you would reduce her to fucking ashes. Charlie replied calmly, using thunder techniques too frequently isn't a good habit. I'd still prefer to exchange pointers with real martial arts masters someday. Most of the nation's top martial arts masters are in Eastcliff, Isaac said. Some serve the order, while others are attached to the top families. Charlie smiled faintly. If the opportunity comes, you should go back to Eastcliff again. Just then, Isaac Cameron's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and said in surprise, Master, it's your aunt calling. My aunt? Charlie frowned slightly as a woman's image surfaced in his mind. He thought of Cynthia, his aunt, 2 years younger than his father. They had never been close. In his memories, she had always been somewhat snobbish, largely because she was closely aligned with his uncle, the eldest son. Due to the long-standing conflict between his uncle and father, Cynthia had always sided with her husband. This had irritated Charlie more than once in the past. Seeing Charlie's expression, Isaac Cameron said cautiously, I haven't had any recent contact with your aunt either. I'm not sure why she's calling. I'll answer it. Charlie nodded. Fine. Just don't reveal anything about me. Understood, Master. Isaac Cameron nodded and answered the call. As soon as the line connected, he spoke respectfully, Hello, Mississippi. As a subordinate of the Wade family, Isaac Cameron always addressed members of the main family with great respect. Aside from the elder Corin, Bruce and Cynthia were all regarded as young masters and young ladies. Chapter 1864. In Charlie's generation, they were often referred to as young master and young miss. During a phone call, Cynthia spoke in a high-pitched, sharp tone, Isaac, are you currently in Oris Hill? Isaac Cameron quickly responded with respect, Miss yes, I'm in Oris Hill. Cynthia said, tomorrow, Please vacate the presidential suite at the Oris Hill Shangri-La Hotel and arrange for a convoy to pick me up at the airport. I'll be flying in the morning. Since Cynthia usually traveled by private jet, there wasn't a fixed departure time. She could leave early or late, depending on her schedule. Surprised, Isaac asked, "Miss, you're coming to Oris Hill? Is there anything else I need to prepare?" Cynthia then inquired about Charlie, her tone tinged with disdain. "What has he been up to lately?" Isaac glanced at Charlie, who sat silently in the back seat, through the rearview mirror. He replied, "Master Wade, he's not busy. He should be at home with his wife." Cynthia scoffed. The esteemed young master of the Wade family is content with joining a low-class family in a third-rate city? Give him the Grand Group. If he can't manage it, he just stays home with his wife, doing housework every day. What a system! Isaac felt embarrassed, struggling for words. After a moment, he asked cautiously, "Miss, are you visiting to see Master Wade?" "Yes," Cynthia confirmed. "Tomorrow night, have Charlie come to the Shangri-La to see me. I'd like to invite him to dinner." Isaac quickly responded, "Oh, of course. I'll speak with Master Wade later." Cynthia added, "By the way, I'm very particular about my sleeping arrangements. What brand of bed is in the master bedroom of your presidential suite?" Isaac thought for a moment and said, "It should be the Black Label series from Simmons in the United States, all imported in original packaging." Cynthia abruptly ordered, "Replace it. Get a bed from Swedish Heisting, specifically their high-end series. Heisting bedding is among the most expensive in the world. Even their entry-level mattresses cost hundreds of thousands, while a high-end mattress can reach millions. With the bed frame included, a set costs a minimum of $2 million. Not even five-star hotels typically use such luxurious beds." Since Cynthia had requested it, Isaac could only agree, "Miss, Oris Hill probably doesn't have a Heisting store. I'll arrange for someone to buy one from Highland Falls tomorrow morning and have it delivered for replacement." Cynthia's voice carried satisfaction as she continued, "Also, I want quilts made of Icelandic goose down. You bought them for me last time. Icelandic goose down is the finest, most luxurious type available, made from the soft down from the breasts and underarms of Icelandic geese. A quilt made from this down costs at least $1 million. In total, if Cynthia stayed for just one night, preparing the bed and quilt would cost at least $3 million. Isaac dared not express any doubt and immediately said, "Of course, Mississippi. I will handle everything tomorrow." Cynthia replied, "Great, that's settled. I'm hanging up now." After she hung up, Charlie furrowed his brow and asked, "My aunt is coming to see me out of the blue. What does she have planned?" Chapter 1865. Hearing Charlie's question, Isaac Cameron appeared equally puzzled. "Master," he said, "to be honest, I don't have a personal connection with your aunt. Due to my position, I rarely interact directly with the Wade family members. Stewart Thompson has more frequent contact. You could call him if you want, but—" Charlie waved his hand dismissively. "Forget it. There's no point in calling. Whatever she plans, we'll deal with it. Let's just see what she intends to do." Isaac then asked, "So, will you be having dinner with your aunt tomorrow?" Charlie nodded. "Yes. Just let me know the time once it's arranged. No need to pick me up, I'll go on my own." "Understood." Charlie recalled his aunt's previous demeanor, finding her somewhat harsh. She had married a young master from a quasi-first-line family in Eastcliff when she was very young and later had a son. He was unsure of her current situation. Curious, Charlie asked Isaac, "What's my aunt's current status within the Wade family? Since she's married, shouldn't she be distanced from family affairs?" Isaac answered candidly, "Master, your aunt separated from her husband quite some time ago and has since returned to live with the Wade family." Charlie frowned. "Separated? What happened?" Isaac chuckled. "Well, I probably shouldn't divulge this, but since you're asking, I'll share." He paused slightly before continuing, "When your aunt married into the Bass family, they were not as prominent as the Wades, but they were considered a solid quasi-first-line family in Eastcliff. About 6 or 7 years ago, the Bass family heavily invested in the steel industry, which unfortunately coincided with a market downturn. They suffered massive losses, and their overall business shrank by half. Isaac sighed lightly. Since the Bass family's downfall, your aunt wanted a divorce, but her husband resisted, fearing it would reflect badly on them. Luckily, she eventually left the Bass family and returned to the Wade family, where she resumed her work and duties. Charlie nodded thoughtfully. It seems my aunt isn't someone to be underestimated. Isaac smiled. Indeed, her temperament is well known and not particularly pleasant. So when you meet her tomorrow, if things get tense, remain calm. Got it, Charlie replied with a faint smile. Honestly, it's not hard to guess her intentions. She likely wants me back in the Wade family. That's right, Isaac confirmed. Stuart Thompson said your aunt is eager for your return but has been cautious about mentioning it, knowing you might resist at first. Charlie grinned. Given the recent disasters for the Banks family, the Wades must be quite pleased, right? Isaac laughed. You did the Wade family a huge favor. The Banks family hasn't suffered such a massive blow in years, your master must be thrilled. Charlie's expression turned serious. He sighed, determination in his eyes. Neither the Wade family nor the Banks family deserves to come out on top. One day, if I can bring both of them down together, that will be true success. When Isaac drove up to Thompson first, it was already 11 o'clock at night. Charlie stepped out with his suitcase and walked toward the entrance of Thompson first. He swiped his card to enter the yard. Inside, the lights were on. Charlie quietly opened the door using his fingerprint scanner, careful not to wake his wife or father-in-law. Claire, Jacob, and Elaine were in the living room, engrossed in a television show. Chapter 1866. Claire heard the doorbell ring and turned to see Charlie back home. Surprised, she rushed over and exclaimed, "Husband, why are you back today? Wasn't yesterday's video supposed to be the last? Didn't you say it might take 2 more days?" Charlie smiled and replied, "I wanted to surprise you." Without hesitation, Claire dashed into his arms. During the days Charlie spent in Japan, she had missed him every single night. Before this, she hadn't realized how intensely she would miss him. While Charlie missed her when he traveled to East Cliff, it had never felt this strong. Seeing him return unexpectedly, she abandoned her usual reserved demeanor and embraced him tightly. Charlie, taken aback by her boldness in front of his mother-in-law and her parents, felt a mix of delight and embarrassment. Chuckling, he said to Claire, "If you want to hug me, let's wait until we're home. After all, your parents are right here." Claire blushed and quickly regained her composure. Feeling a bit shy, she said, "We were just watching TV, and there was a report about a massacre in Japan that killed over 30 people a few days ago. It was really frightening." Charlie looked surprised. "Has that been reported in China?" "Yes." Claire nodded seriously. "Several news channels are covering it, and it seems they're still deploying troops to arrest suspects at the airport. They've already apprehended suspects from 3 buses. The law and order in Japan seems terrible. Now that I know it's so chaotic over there, I couldn't let you go even if I tried." Charlie smiled reassuringly. "I'm not sure how chaotic it is, but it should just be an unfortunate incident." At that moment, Elaine came running over, excitement radiating from her. "Oh, my dear son-in-law, you're finally back. You have no idea how much your mom missed you while you were in Japan." Jacob chimed in from the side teasingly, "You don't miss Charlie, you're just thinking about what he brought you." Elaine shot Jacob a disapproving glare and retorted, "Jacob, don't be ridiculous. I genuinely missed him. Even if my wonderful son-in-law doesn't bring me anything, I still miss him." After finishing her playful scolding, Elaine turned back to Charlie with a smile. "So, good son-in-law, now that you're back, did you bring a gift for your mom?" Charlie nodded. "Of course, I brought gifts for everyone." With that, he began to pull out the presents he had bought. First, he revealed a beautiful ring he had chosen for Claire. Handing it to her, he said, "My wife, this is for you. Go ahead and open it." Claire, filled with surprise, asked, "What is it?" Charlie smiled back. You'll find out once you unwrap it. Elaine eagerly added, Claire, hurry up and open it. Let Mom see what a wonderful gift your great son-in-law has prepared for you. Chapter 1867. Seeing Elaine brimming with excitement, Charlie set the suitcase down and prepared to open it. Unable to contain herself any longer, Elaine squatted beside him and exclaimed eagerly, Oh, my dear son-in-law, why should this be a bother for you? Let Mom handle it. Charlie chuckled helplessly and didn't protest. As Elaine opened the suitcase, she discovered a large designer suit bag at the top. She couldn't help but remark, Wow, this must be a men's suit, right? Charlie nodded and explained, Yes, this is the suit I chose for Dad. He's the standing director of the Painting and Calligraphy Association now and often attends social events. He needs to look a bit more dignified when he goes out. Jacob, standing nearby, was thrilled. Oh, Charlie, you truly are an amazing son-in-law. Dad has always wanted a suit to wear when he goes out for tea, but he never took the plunge. I can't believe you did this for him. Thank you so much. Elaine rolled her eyes, pulled the suit bag out, and tossed it disdainfully at Jacob's feet. You think you deserve such a nice suit? Just look at your old face, are you really worthy of it? Jacob shot back, What do you mean I'm not worthy? I'm only in my early 50s, and I'm still in shape. Unlike you, I'm not out of form. What are you saying? Elaine exploded, retorting, You dare say I'm out of shape? Are you tired of living? Jacob quickly backed down, I was just joking. Elaine glared at him fiercely before turning to Charlie. Good son-in-law, what kind of suit did you get for him? A fake would suit him just fine. The fake Rolex I found for him last time was decent enough, it's perfect for that old man. Charlie chuckled and replied, Mom, Dad's suit wasn't too expensive. It was on sale. The gift I got for you is much pricier than this. Upon hearing this, Elaine's face lit up with joy. Really? Oh! My wonderful son-in-law loves me. What did you get for Mom? Show me. Charlie pulled out 2 Tiffany boxes and handed the larger one to Elaine. Mom, this is for you. Elaine's eyes sparkled as she saw the Tiffany logo. Oh! Tiffany! This is a big international brand. With that, she eagerly tore open the package. Inside, she found an exquisite Tiffany jewelry box. As she opened it, her eyes widened in surprise at the sight of a stunning golden bracelet adorned with diamonds. Wow! I know this bracelet. It costs hundreds of thousands in China. It must be quite expensive in Japan too. Charlie smiled and said, As long as Mom likes it, the price doesn't matter. Elaine beamed. That's why I say my son-in-law is the best. She quickly slipped the bracelet onto her wrist, admiring it from every angle in the light. This Tiffany piece is exquisite. The craftsmanship is flawless, and it looks fantastic with my style. While Jacob secretly rolled his eyes from the side, he refrained from making sarcastic comments. At that moment, Charlie retrieved another smaller gift box from the suitcase and handed it to his wife, Claire. Chapter 1868. My dear wife, this is for you. Open it up and let me know what you think. Claire looked surprised and exclaimed, You bought this for me too. Husband, I know how hard it is for you to earn money. You rarely spend on yourself and always bring me gifts when you go out. Elaine quickly chimed in, Oh, come on, silly girl. Charlie is the perfect example of a loving husband who adores and spoils you. Just look at your dad, when has he ever given me anything of value? Jacob retorted, That's because you controlled the finances. I hardly had any pocket money to spare. How could I give you anything? Elaine scoffed, Please. Even if my husband was short on funds, he would still find a way to gift me something. What about you? You've been hiding your own stash of money for years. Jacob picked up the suit Charlie had given him and said with a hum, I won't entertain this nonsense any longer. I'm heading to my room to try on the suit my wonderful son-in-law bought for me. The Calligraphy and Painting Association has an event tomorrow, and I'll wear this new suit then. Meanwhile, Claire carefully opened the gift box. When she spotted a dazzling diamond ring nestled inside, her mouth fell open in shock. Elaine gasped, her eyes wide. "Oh my goodness! Is that a 3-carat diamond?" Charlie smiled and replied, "You really know your jewelry. The main diamond on this ring is actually 3.2 carats. Wow!" Elaine felt a shiver run down her spine and exclaimed, "That's enormous. Isn't that worth $1 million?" Charlie chuckled, "In renminbi, it's only 800,000. Just 800,000? Elaine put her hand to her chest, overwhelmed. "My goodness! My son-in-law really knows how to impress. An 800,000 diamond ring, what a fortune." Claire, astonished, said, "Charlie, you work so hard every day to make money. Why would you buy me something so extravagant? It feels wasteful to wear such an expensive ring." Charlie replied earnestly, "My love, we've been married for so long, and I've never given you a ring. Consider this one my belated wedding ring for you." Claire's eyes filled with tears, and she looked at Charlie, her voice trembling. "If you truly want to buy me a wedding ring, you could have chosen one for 20 or 30,000. No need for something so costly." Wiping her tears, she added, "And look at you, always buying things for me and your parents, but never for yourself. How can I feel comfortable with that?" Charlie smiled gently, took the ring out, and held Claire's right hand, saying with sincerity, "Claire, marrying you is my greatest blessing. Thank you for your unwavering support throughout the years. This ring is my way of making up for what I owe you. You have to accept it." "Yes." Elaine interjected enthusiastically, "Daughter, see how wonderful Charlie is to you. Make sure to cherish him. And most importantly, start a family soon." Claire was still touched by Charlie's heartfelt words, but blushed at Elaine's comment. At that moment, Charlie carefully slid the ring onto her right ring finger, smiling as he said, "Wife, this ring is a symbol of my love and gratitude for you being by my side all these years." Chapter 1869. At this moment, Claire found herself moved to tears. Reflecting on the years spent married to Charlie, her heart was flooded with emotion. Back then, her grandfather had insisted that she marry Charlie, despite her lack of understanding and the strong opposition from their family. Nevertheless, her grandfather's authority triumphed, and he managed to persuade everyone to accept the situation. This forced marriage shaped Claire's perception of marriage from the very beginning. She believed that by marrying Charlie, she was honoring her grandfather's wishes and that they would simply coexist as husband and wife, regardless of their compatibility or feelings for one another. As a result, for a significant period, they lived in mutual respect. Although they were officially husband and wife, they were more like strangers sharing the same home. Especially during the early days of their marriage, Claire faced immense pressure due to Charlie's social status. People constantly filled her ears with harsh criticisms, labeling Charlie as worthless and urging her to divorce him. Yet, despite the negativity surrounding her, Claire was determined not to head down the path of divorce, having made the choice to marry him, whether she was truly willing or not. After all, Charlie had never wronged her. As time went on, Claire began to recognize the admirable qualities in Charlie, slowly developing a fondness for him. However, she remained perplexed about the true nature of love, having never experienced a relationship before. This lack of understanding left both of them in a state of confusion. Now, confronted with Charlie's heartfelt confession, Claire felt her heart race, breath quicken, and head spin. Overwhelmed with emotion, she was brought to tears. Watching this unfold, Elaine felt a surge of joy, realizing that Charlie was indeed a remarkable son-in-law who could withstand various challenges. In the past, many wealthy young men had courted Claire, showering her with flattery, yet few had shown the dedication that Charlie did. Reflecting on her previous treatment of Charlie, she realized that despite the insults she had hurled at him, he had consistently respected her mother, referring to her as "Mom." In this light, Charlie emerged as a young man who responded to negativity with kindness. Moreover, there had been times when Claire had caused significant trouble, and it was Charlie who had come to her rescue, saving her life more than once. He was a true example of loyalty and moral integrity. What's more, Charlie had recently achieved considerable success. He had acquired a Thompson First villa valued at over $100 million and 2 BMW cars, all through his own efforts. Each time he went out to showcase his skills, he returned with expensive gifts. Such a son-in-law is incredibly rare to find, especially one who genuinely cares for his daughter. With this in mind, Elaine quickly suggested to Claire, "Claire, Charlie must be exhausted after his late flight. Why don't you both head to your room, enjoy a shower together, and get to bed early?" "Ha!" Claire was taken aback, her face flushing bright red. She stammered, "Mom, what are you talking about, together? Take a bath." Elaine responded with a serious tone, "Isn't it perfectly normal for a couple to shower together? Our large villa even has a luxurious bathtub that's perfect for two. You could help Charlie by washing his back or something. How wonderful would that be?" Claire felt a wave of embarrassment wash over her, wishing she could disappear. Though she was in her 20s, she still felt like a naive girl, unfamiliar with romantic relationships. The thought of bathing with Charlie and the idea of washing his back was utterly overwhelming for her. Chapter 1870. Charlie was acutely aware of his wife's shy nature, particularly when it came to social interactions. He wondered how she would handle Elaine's teasing. In a hurry to protect her, he quickly interjected, "Mom, please don't embarrass her. She's a bit sensitive about these things." Elaine flashed a smile and quipped, "Claire, did you hear that? Charlie really cares about you." With that, she stretched her arms and announced, "I won't keep you both any longer. I need to go to my room and take some pictures of my bracelet. You two should get some rest." Just then, Jacob emerged from the elevator, dressed in an impressive new suit. Spotting the three of them, he strutted around the elevator entrance with a self-satisfied grin, saying, "Look at me. The old Wilson still has it. This suit fits me perfectly, and with this physique, I'm quite the catch for a guy in his 50s. Jacob did look quite dapper in his upscale suit, and he had clearly put effort into his fitness. At first glance, he hardly seemed like someone in his 50s. However, Charlie knew the truth. Jacob was fundamentally lazy and hardly exercised. His impressive physique was more a result of Elaine's relentless efforts over the years. Though Elaine had toned down her strictness somewhat, in her earlier days, she had been a force to be reckoned with. Living with her had been exhausting, she had little appetite and was always on a diet, which made maintaining her figure a constant battle. Charlie complimented, "Dad, with that outfit, you look like you're in your 40s. Your style is fantastic." "Oh, absolutely. He he he." Jacob replied, beaming with pride. "Back in college, I was quite the heartthrob, not much different from those young studs today." Claire shook her head in disbelief, saying, "Dad, when will you learn to be humble? Saying things like that just makes you sound silly." Jacob shrugged, "What's there to be modest about? If you put me next to all those old guys, I'd be at the top of the list. To put it simply, I'm the cream of the crop." Elaine watched Jacob, feeling uneasy about his youthful appearance. She couldn't help but think that Jacob really knows how to show off. "Meanwhile, I've been putting on weight. With my legs hurt and lacking exercise, it's becoming a problem. I need to lose weight and get back to my old self. I can't let him outshine me." Giving Jacob a disapproving glance, Elaine decided not to engage with him. Instead, she turned to Charlie and Claire, saying, "I'm heading back to my room. You two should go to bed soon." Blushing, Claire replied, "Okay, Mom, we'll go back to our room and rest." Jacob added, "Charlie, make sure to get some rest too. You must be exhausted after all the running around these past few days. Claire can prepare a nice hot bath for you." Claire felt a rush of embarrassment at her mother's earlier comment but realized that her husband truly deserved some relaxation. A bath would surely help him unwind and ease his fatigue. Turning to Charlie, she said, "Charlie, chat with Dad for a bit. I'll go upstairs and prepare some water for your bath, and you can soak for about 10 minutes." Charlie nodded in agreement. After Claire and Elaine took the elevator upstairs, Jacob invited Charlie to sit down for a cup of tea to help him relax. Just as Charlie settled in, his phone buzzed. Looking at the screen, he noticed an unfamiliar number from Eastcliff. He stood up and said to Jacob, "Dad, I need to take this call." Jacob responded, "Take it right here, I'll just be in the other room." Charlie nodded, saying, "It's a business call." With that, he stepped outside to take the call. Once in the yard, Charlie pressed the answer button and said, "Hello, who is this?" On the other end, an enthusiastic woman's voice chimed, "Oh, Charlie. It's your aunt. I've missed you so much over the years." Chapter 1871. Had it not been for the phone conversation between his aunt and Isaac Cameron on the way home, Charlie would have genuinely believed that the enthusiasm in the woman's voice was heartfelt. So, feigning surprise, he smiled and said, "Auntie, is that really you? What made you remember to call me?" In truth, Cynthia had reservations about calling Charlie herself. She had already instructed Isaac Cameron to reach out to Charlie with plans for dinner at Shangri-La the following day. However, Mr. Cameron approached her moments ago, insisting that she personally call Charlie. This approach would convey sincerity, especially since it had been years since she last saw Charlie. A personal call would serve as a way to reconnect, making it easier for her upcoming plan to persuade him to return home. With a warm tone, she said, "Charlie, it's been so long. I've always been thinking about you. I wanted to visit you in Orris Hill, but I heard from Stephen Thompson that you weren't ready to come back, so I didn't want to intrude." Then, with genuine concern, she asked, "Charlie, how have you been all these years?" Charlie felt a wave of discomfort but maintained his politeness, replying, "I'm doing well, thank you for asking, Aunt." Cynthia let out a sigh of relief, her smile widening. "I'm so glad to hear that. It truly makes me happy." Continuing, she added, "By the way, Charlie, the main reason I called is that I plan to visit Orris Hill tomorrow and would love to take you out for a meal. Do you have time?" Charlie responded, surprised, "You're coming to Orris Hill tomorrow?" "Yes," Cynthia confirmed. "I initially wanted Isaac Cameron to inform you, but I thought it would be better to personally reach out since we haven't seen each other in ages." Charlie smiled and replied, "All right, when will you arrive tomorrow? I'd like to treat you to dinner." Cynthia beamed, "Let's have dinner at Shangri-La tomorrow night. I've already coordinated with Isaac Cameron." "Sounds good," Charlie said without hesitation. "I'll see you at Shangri-La tomorrow night." Cynthia replied cheerfully, "Great. Looking forward to it." After hanging up, the smile on Charlie's face faded away. He harbored no fond feelings for anyone with the surname Wade, be it his grandfather, uncle, or aunt. Until he uncovered the truth behind his parents' deaths, the Wade family remained his primary suspect. Back in his room, Claire had prepared a bath for him. After soaking, Charlie joined Claire in bed. Like a child eager for a story, she asked if he had experienced anything interesting in Japan. Charlie recounted the happenings involving the three major families in Tokyo. However, he carefully distanced himself from the events, not wanting Claire to realize his significant involvement. Instead, he framed it as merely having clients in Japan with ties to those families, which granted him access to some insider information. Claire listened in awe, captivated by the unbelievable tales. The elements of powerful families, ninjas, and assassinations were not just remarkable, but also enthralling. Claire was delighted, urging Charlie to continue his storytelling well into the night. Chapter 1872. The following morning, Claire rose early to head to her job at the company. Meanwhile, Charlie enjoyed a breakfast prepared by Elaine and spent the day preoccupied with thoughts about Cynthia's situation. Since Stephen Thompson's arrival, the Wade family had never directly intersected with his life, until now. Charlie found some solace in this arrangement. He appreciated not having to engage with the Wade family. However, Cynthia's actions had disrupted this peace, signaling that the Wade family was now interested in forming a connection with him. Their motives remained unclear, but it was apparent they did not wish to remain in Orris Hill. Even if he declined his aunt's request today, he knew the Wade family wouldn't simply give up. It seemed evident that the Wade family would pose a persistent challenge for him in the future. At 5:30 p.m., Charlie greeted his mother-in-law, Elaine, informing her that he had other plans for the evening and would not be dining at home. He then set out alone, catching a taxi to Shangri-La. Isaac Cameron had offered to drive him, but Charlie declined. The Wade family often treated Isaac Cameron as their own. If he displayed too much eagerness toward Charlie, it might raise suspicions within the Wade family. Upon Charlie's arrival at the Shangri-La catering department, he found Isaac Cameron already waiting for him. As soon as Charlie appeared, Isaac Cameron stepped forward respectfully, saying, "Master, it's good to see you." Charlie nodded and inquired, "Where's my aunt? Is she here?" "Yes, she's here," Isaac Cameron replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Your aunt mentioned she was feeling a bit tired, so I arranged for a spa technician to attend to her in her room. It should take more than half an hour." With a faint smile, Charlie said, "All right, then let's go to the box first." Isaac Cameron quickly replied, "You two will actually be dining in the Sky Garden tonight." Charlie frowned at this news, recalling that the Sky Garden was where he had orchestrated a wedding for Claire. The Sky Garden is a grand banquet space featuring no private boxes and surrounded by translucent glass. It typically serves elite members of Shangri-La, making it likely that other guests could witness their dinner together. Concerned, Charlie asked, "Will there be a lot of guests tonight? If too many people see me dining with her and recognize her, it could compromise my identity." Isaac Cameron shrugged and reassured him, "You don't need to worry. The entire catering department at Shangri-La is completely cleared for tonight. There won't be any other guests in the Sky Garden or the outside boxes." Surprised, Charlie questioned, "You cleared more than just the Sky Garden? The Chinese and Western restaurants outside are also empty?" "Yes," Isaac confirmed. "The catering department is dedicated solely to you and your aunt tonight." Feeling awkward, Charlie remarked, "There was no need for such fuss, a better quality box would have sufficed." Isaac leaned in closer, speaking softly, "Master, you may not be aware of your aunt's nature. She has always been like this." He continued, "Your aunt tends to look down on those below her station and has always mocked a third-tier city like Oris Hill. To her, dining with locals here is a significant affront." "What a mentality," Charlie replied, slightly irritated. "No matter how lofty her standards, she still eats, drinks, and sleeps like everyone else. It's pointless to act so superior." Chapter 1873. Charlie entered the restaurant section of Shangri-La, noticing that the vast food and beverage area was unusually quiet today. Many of the waiters had also cleared out. Isaac Cameron mentioned that he was concerned about having too many waiters present, as it seemed to upset Cynthia. As Charlie navigated through the outer restaurant of the catering department, he made his way to the Sky Garden at its heart. Inside the Sky Garden banquet hall, he observed that all 88 banquet tables had been removed, leaving just one well-appointed Western-style dining table at the center. It didn't take much for Charlie to deduce that his aunt must have ordered the removal of the tables. This realization left him feeling somewhat troubled. Despite having nearly $60 billion in cash in his bank account, Charlie held a strong aversion to his aunt's ostentatious ways, reminiscent of an ancient emperor's relative. He had no desire to flaunt his wealth. For Charlie, dining didn't have to be extravagant. He wouldn't think twice about enjoying a bowl of beef noodles for $10 at a roadside ramen shop. The thought of completely clearing out the Shangri-La and the Sky Garden just for one meal felt absurd to him, stripping away any sense of superiority he could have felt. On the contrary, the situation only intensified his feelings of resistance. Together with Isaac Cameron, Charlie approached the solitary table. The dining table was approximately 2 meters long and 1 meter wide, with 2 seats positioned at either end. Isaac Cameron courteously pulled out one of the chairs for Charlie, saying, "Master, I apologize for the wait." Charlie nodded and replied, "That's fine. You can wait for her by my mobile phone." Isaac Cameron quickly inquired, "Master, would you like something to drink while you wait?" "I can arrange that for you." "Just a glass of boiled water, please," Charlie requested. "Understood, young master," Isaac responded. Charlie sat alone at the dining table, fiddling with his phone. Just then, he received a message from Nanako Ito. "What is Charlie up to?" A smile crept across Charlie's face as he read her message. He replied, "I'm getting ready to eat out. How about you?" Nanako Ito responded, "I just returned from the hospital, where I was keeping my father company." Shortly after, she sent another message, "Charlie, did your wife like the ring you gave her? Is the size still right?" Charlie replied, "She loves it. Thank you for helping me with the size, it fits perfectly." Nanako Ito responded with a smiley face, "That's wonderful. The Chinese Lunar New Year is in 4 days. I wish you a Happy New Year in advance." With a smile, Charlie typed back, "Thank you. How is Mr. Ito doing?" Nanako Ito replied, "The doctor said he should be able to leave the hospital after a few days of rehab." "That's good to hear," Charlie typed back, sending just those 3 words. At that moment, a woman dressed in luxurious attire entered the Sky Garden. This woman appeared to be around 40 years old, clad in a limited edition Chanel outfit. Her medium-length, dyed blonde hair framed a face that lacked conventional beauty, instead giving off a rather cold and unwelcoming vibe. This woman was none other than Charlie's aunt, Cynthia. Chapter 1874. Cynthia walked briskly, her stride firm as she headed straight for the dining table where Charlie sat. Isaac Cameron followed closely behind her, maintaining a respectful demeanor. As Cynthia approached Charlie, she smiled warmly and exclaimed, "Oh, Charlie. It's been so many years. You've grown into such a handsome young man." Charlie looked at Cynthia and felt a wave of childhood memories wash over him. Chuckling to himself, he replied, "I'm about to turn 27, so I'm neither a kid nor a teenager anymore." Cynthia returned his smile affectionately, saying, "You really resemble your dad. It's like you were cast from the same mold." Charlie nodded, grinning. "Auntie, you haven't changed much compared to all those years ago." Cynthia laughed. "It feels like a dozen or 20 years have just flown by in the blink of an eye. I'm nearly 50 now, of course, I'm not the same as before." At that moment, Isaac Cameron carefully pulled out Cynthia's chair. As Cynthia took her seat, she glanced over at Charlie, who remained seated in his chair without standing. A flicker of dissatisfaction crossed her mind. Traditionally, younger family members should stand respectfully when elders arrive. When the elders speak, the younger ones are expected to lean in and listen attentively. The younger generation should wait until the elder is seated before taking their own seats. However, Charlie seemed completely oblivious to this etiquette, he didn't even bother to stand. This annoyed Cynthia immensely. Deep down, she never held a favorable opinion of Charlie. Ideally, she preferred he stay away permanently. But she was taken aback when he suddenly reappeared after years away, seemingly to stake a claim in the Wade family's assets. What irritated her even more was that the old man not only gifted him an Imgrand group but also a staggering 10 billion in cash, and now he wanted to reintegrate him into the family. Cynthia observed Charlie, who wore simple clothes and exuded an easygoing air, seemingly ignorant of proper etiquette. She thought to herself, what right does someone like him have to return to the Wade family? Every direct member of the Wade family has received elite education since childhood and studied abroad. In comparison, Charlie spent just a year as a senior in Oris Hill. The difference is night and day. Allowing someone so unrefined back into the family would be a disgrace. Despite her disdain for Charlie, Cynthia felt unable to reject her father's wishes. After her separation from her husband, her hope was to return to the Wade family and secure a share of its wealth. However, as a married woman seeking to reclaim her family's assets, she had her reservations about Corin and Miles, her brothers. To gain her father's support for her ambitions, Cynthia knew she needed to play her cards right. Typically, she held herself above others in the Wade family, and while she was used to being in charge, she never dared to defy her father. Whenever her father requested something, she always did her best to please him. With this in mind, she reminded herself, this time, I must execute my father's plans flawlessly. I should aim not just to persuade Charlie to return to the Wade family but at least to ensure he agrees to come back for the Lunar New Year and spend time with the old man. With her dissatisfaction for Charlie pushed aside, she smiled and said, Charlie, it sounds like you've had a tough time in Oris Hill these past few years. Our family hasn't seen you in ages, everyone misses you dearly. When do you plan to come home and visit? Chapter 1875. Go home and see. Charlie couldn't help but smile when he heard those 4 words. Cynthia noticed his somewhat forced smile and remarked, "Charlie, people are saying you're leaving home to become the boss. Now that you're not exactly young anymore, it's about time you went back and took a look after so many years away." Charlie nodded in agreement. "You're right. It's been a long time since I left, and I should make an effort to return and see how things are." With a smile, he added, "I'll find a time to arrange a visit if I can." While it seemed that Charlie had accepted Cynthia's suggestion, his intention was merely to postpone the idea. He knew that suggesting another time was likely just a way to push the matter aside, as he was primarily focused on dealing with the present. Cynthia understood Charlie's intentions all too well and quickly said, "Charlie, don't resist your family. They've always cared for you deeply. Remember, when your grandfather learned you were in Oris Hill, he immediately had Stephen Thompson send you the Grand Group and 10 billion in cash. It's only reasonable for you to go back and see your grandfather. What do you think?" Charlie replied, "Auntie, are you saying that if I just go back to take a look, everything will be settled?" Cynthia's frustration grew stronger at his response. In her view, Charlie was somewhat oblivious to the situation. The Wade family had gone to great lengths to ask him to return, which she felt was a significant gesture. If he had any sense, he should have readily agreed and returned home to celebrate the new year. Instead, he was merely deflecting her suggestions without making any commitments. With a hint of displeasure, she said, "Charlie, your grandfather invested $110 billion in you. For the Wade family, this amount is not particularly significant, but it undeniably represents a substantial investment. Do you really think they would invest such a sum just for you to take a casual visit?" Charlie looked at her seriously and asked, "Auntie, what exactly does the Wade family expect from me? You don't need to sugarcoat it. Let's be straightforward." Cynthia hesitated briefly before nodding. "All right, since you've asked, I won't beat around the bush." She straightened up and said with a serious tone, "Your grandfather wants you to return to the Wade family home to celebrate the new year together. You need to act quickly regarding Oris Hill." Charlie raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What's going on? Did something happen?" Cynthia explained, "Your connection to the Grand Group in Oris Hill is primarily through your current wife." Chapter 1876. With an air of arrogance, Cynthia extended a finger and stated, "Firstly, concerning the Grand Group, you can continue to rely on Doris Young to manage it. We've conducted our research on her, and she has proven her capability. During this period, the Grand Group has thrived under her leadership, so you can confidently delegate that responsibility to her." Then, she raised another finger. "Secondly, let's talk about your current wife, Claire, and her family. We have looked into the Wilsons, and frankly, they are insignificant compared to the Wade family. There's no way their family can be considered suitable in-laws for the Wades." Cynthia's expression turned sour as she added, "My advice to you is to distance yourself from Claire and her family as soon as possible. It would be wise to give them a financial settlement to ensure they leave for good. They should exit China entirely to prevent any future embarrassment or ridicule directed at our Wade family. We can't afford to have our family's reputation tarnished by someone so unworthy." Charlie's demeanor shifted immediately, his expression darkening as he responded coldly, "Auntie, my marriage is my own affair, and it doesn't involve you or the Wade family. Please refrain from meddling in our matters." Cynthia sighed and tried to reason with him. "Charlie, don't be so stubborn. Consider this, you are a descendant of the Wade family. If you were to rank the wealthiest and most influential heirs in the country, you would undoubtedly be among them. How could a girl from the Wilson family ever be worthy of you? She wouldn't even qualify to carry your shoes. In ancient times, she wouldn't have even been fit to be your housekeeper." Charlie retorted, his voice laced with frustration, "Auntie, she was my wife from the very beginning. She stood by me during my toughest times, and I will never divorce her. There's no reason for me to consider that." Cynthia, expressing her disappointment, replied, "Charlie, don't let emotions cloud your judgment." Charlie shot back, "Emotions are important, and they matter." Cynthia countered, "As a member of a wealthy family, feelings are trivial. Remember your uncle? He was also talented and treated me well for years, but once his family's status fell short, we had to part ways." She continued, if it weren't for your grandfather's views, I would have cut ties with him long ago. You, as a man, shouldn't worry about the repercussions of divorce. Just leave the Wilson name behind and return to Eastcliff, marrying a well-known heiress. You would have a bright future ahead. Charlie smirked and replied, I'm sorry, but I value emotions more than you do. I can't betray my feelings like that. Seeing that Charlie wouldn't budge, Cynthia insisted, you must understand that the Wade family is among the elite in the country. Any woman who wishes to join our family must come from a background that matches ours. Otherwise, it would bring shame to the Wade name, and we cannot allow someone from the humble Wilson family to tarnish our reputation. Charlie stated coldly, I'm sorry, but while I carry the Wade name, I am not someone you can easily manipulate. My marriage is my own decision, and no one, including you, has the right to interfere. Cynthia was taken aback, her anger boiling over. She slammed her hand on the table and shouted, Charlie! Did you think I was speaking to you politely? I'm not here to negotiate. What? Charlie asked icily. Are you trying to force me into a divorce? Cynthia admonished, you are the heir of the Wade family. You must adhere to the family's plans. Do you think the Emgrand Group and that 10 billion cash were given to you without reason? If you refuse to comply, the Wade family can easily withdraw its support and leave you behind. Charlie's anger flared, and he replied coldly, don't bring up the Emgrand Group or the 10 billion like that. The reason the Wade family has reached its current height is because of my father's hard work and strategic decisions. If we're tallying assets, my father should rightfully inherit at least a quarter of the Wade family's wealth. If that's the case, I deserve far more than just 110 billion. As he spoke, Charlie's tone grew more intense as he continued, my father sacrificed so much for the Wade family, yet how did you repay him? You drove our family out of Eastcliff. My parents met tragic ends, and I have yet to settle that score with you. Chapter 1877. Cynthia was taken aback by Charlie's audacity to speak to her in such a manner. When he boldly claimed he deserved to inherit a quarter of the Wade family's wealth, her anger flared instantly. She shouted, you're ridiculous. Who do you think you are to claim a quarter of the Wade family's assets? Charlie replied coldly, because I am Charlie. And because my father is Bruce. Cynthia snapped back, your father has been gone for years. Do you really think you're entitled to the Wade family's fortune? Let me tell you, you don't deserve it. Charlie looked at her with a smirk and said, my father worked tirelessly for the Wade family. In my eyes, he deserves more respect than even the head of the Wade family. And you're just a married daughter. Once you wed, you're out of the family. So why are you trying to lecture me? The phrase about married daughters being like water poured out was something Cynthia despised more than anything else. Even though she had been a wife for some time, she had always eyed the Wade family's wealth. Now, after breaking away from her husband and cutting ties, she relied entirely on the Wade family's fortune for her future. However, the elders of the Wade family, along with Miles, the third child, and William, the fourth, had always been antagonistic towards her. They frequently reminded her, both openly and subtly, that she was no longer part of the Wade family and thus ineligible to inherit any of their assets. Cynthia was determined not to accept this reality. She felt her husband's family was unreliable, and the only person she could truly count on was Elder Wade. Thus, she resolved to win his favor and secure a legacy that would ensure her a comfortable life until her last days. This became her primary goal. What she never anticipated was that Charlie, a child who had been away for nearly 20 years, would dare to say such things to her. It felt like he was trampling on her pride, igniting her fury. Gritting her teeth and glaring at him, she retorted angrily, Charlie. Let me make this clear, if you were smart enough to follow the Wade family's wishes, they would treat you well and provide you with a comfortable life. She then shifted her tone, raising her voice and glaring at him. But if you choose to be obstinate, know this, the Wade family can elevate you, but they can also cast you aside. When that happens, the Emgrand Group and the billions will vanish. You'll be reduced to a nobody, looked down upon and ridiculed by everyone, just like your wife's family. Cynthia was losing control, her voice rising to a scream. Her furious words echoed throughout the Sky Garden. Isaac Cameron quickly ushered all the staff out of the banquet hall, standing guard outside the door. At this moment, some guests were already displeased with Cynthia, but nobody wanted to provoke her further. Noticing the deep resentment brewing in Cynthia's expression, Charlie couldn't help but smile mischievously and asked, "So harsh? Then I must ask, what does the Wade family expect from me if I play along?" Chapter 1878. Cynthia believed that her threat had put Charlie on the back foot, so she sneered coldly, "First, you divorce your wife, who comes from a humble background, and then return to the Wade family to await your grandfather's arrangements. Now Orrin from the Banks family has fully consolidated his power, and the Sun family's influence is at an all-time high. His daughter is engaged to you. If you marry her, it will greatly benefit the Wade family." She continued, "Alternatively, you could consider the eldest granddaughter of the Banks family, Zane's daughter. She is highly favored within the Banks family. Her mother was once one of your father's admirers. If you pursue her, she might agree to marry you, which would further strengthen the Wade family's position." Cynthia pressed on relentlessly, "So after you divorce that woman, focus on courting the Banks family's eldest granddaughter first. If you succeed, marry her. If not, proceed with the engagement to Orrin's daughter." Charlie chuckled lightly. "So, you want me to sell myself for the sake of the Wade family?" Cynthia replied coldly, "This is not selling yourself. In high society, marriages are strategic alliances. This arrangement benefits not only the Wade family, but you as well." Charlie scoffed. "Auntie, if marriage is such a profitable transaction, why don't you divorce and go pursue Orrin or Zane yourself? If you succeeded, wouldn't that bring even greater benefits to the Wade family?" Cynthia felt as though Charlie had slapped her repeatedly across the face. She finally realized that while he appeared calm, he was openly humiliating her. Furious, she clenched her teeth and screamed, "You beast! I am your aunt. How dare you insult me?" Charlie replied coldly, "Insult you? No. I'm shaming you. If you were a man, I would have beaten you 8 times already." Cynthia nearly fainted, clutching her chest in rage. Not wanting to waste another second, Charlie stood up and said disdainfully, "Go back and tell the old man that if he wants to take back the Grand Group and the 10 billion, I can return at any time." Then his expression turned ice cold. "But I will settle the score regarding my parents with him in the future. Everyone involved will repay me with interest. No one will escape, no exceptions. Not even him." You, Cynthia trembled violently, pointing at Charlie. "You insolent brat. You dare to disrespect your grandfather just because you are the Wade family heir. Outrageous." Charlie replied calmly, "So what if I do disrespect him? If you're unhappy, go tell him yourself." Cynthia gritted her teeth. "Fine. Every word you said today will be reported to your grandfather. If you get put in your place later, don't blame your aunt for not giving you a chance." "A chance?" Charlie snorted. "You don't deserve a chance. But if I ever find out that you had anything to do with my parents' deaths, you won't be begging me for one. You've turned against me. You've turned against me." Cynthia screamed hysterically. She grabbed an exquisite empty wine glass from the table and smashed it onto the floor. "You will regret this." Charlie nodded with contempt. "Use whatever means you have. I'll be waiting." With that, he turned around and walked away without looking back. Chapter 1879. As Charlie was leaving, Cynthia chased after him, unable to suppress her rage. She shouted, "Charlie! I'm still here. What gives you the right to leave before me? I'm your elder, your aunt. How dare you disrespect me like this? You will pay for it." Charlie completely ignored her. To him, Cynthia was nothing more than a delusional woman who relied on her family background to inflate her ego. She strutted arrogantly, unaware that she was merely carrying out the old man's orders in business matters. Her self-importance was her greatest flaw, one that would cripple anyone, even within the Wade family. Charlie had no interest in entertaining her any further. Once outside, he walked straight toward the exit of the Sky Garden. Isaac Cameron hurried over anxiously. "Master, what are you doing? If Miss Cynthia complains to the old master, your situation could become extremely dangerous." Charlie snorted dismissively. "So what? Just because she belongs to the Wade family doesn't make her important. She's nothing but the old man's pawn. If she wants to target me, she should first consider how the old man will feel about it. If he truly wants to deal with me, he's welcome to try." He continued coldly, "The only reason I merely scolded her instead of beating her senseless is because she still carries the Wade bloodline. But if they push me too far, I won't care about that anymore. Anyone from the Wade family who dares provoke me will face my fury. Anyone who threatens me or the people I care about will pay the ultimate price." At that moment, Charlie radiated an overwhelming killing intent. Isaac Cameron could only sigh helplessly. What he feared was not the Wade family retaliating against Charlie, but what would happen if Charlie truly turned against the Wade family. If that happened, the consequences would be unimaginable. Isaac escorted Charlie to the entrance of Shangri-La and asked respectfully, "Master, where are you heading? Shall I drive you?" Charlie waved his hand. "No. If you drive me now, the Wade family will notice. Go check on Cynthia and see what she plans to do next." Isaac nodded. "Understood, Master." Charlie added, "Find out when she plans to return and when she's leaving. Also, keep an eye on her. Make sure she doesn't approach my wife." Isaac straightened immediately. "Master, rest assured. I understand." Charlie didn't consider Cynthia a real threat, but he knew she was capable of underhanded schemes. What he feared most was her attempting to interfere with his marriage by approaching Claire. Claire still had no idea about his true identity, and Charlie had no intention of revealing it, not until he uncovered the truth behind his parents' deaths and exacted his revenge. After Charlie left, Isaac Cameron turned back toward the Sky Garden. At that moment, Cynthia was still burning with uncontrollable rage. Chapter 1880. The dining table, set for a Western meal, had already been overturned by Cynthia, leaving a chaotic mess all over the floor. Worried that Cynthia might get hurt by the shards of broken glass scattered everywhere, the female foreman of Sky Garden quickly rushed over with 2 waitresses to clean up the dangerous debris. Overwhelmed by grief and rage, Cynthia had nowhere to vent her anger. When she saw the foreman approaching with the waitresses, her fury instantly exploded. She strode forward, grabbed one of the girls, yanked her face hard, and shouted angrily, "Did I call you? Did I tell you to come here?" The girl was struck several times and cried out in panic, "Miss, please calm down. I was only trying to protect you from the broken glass." Still seething, Cynthia tightened her grip and snarled, "You stupid bitch. If I didn't ask you to come out, then you'd better not show your face in front of me." Seeing things spiral out of control, the foreman hurried forward and pleaded anxiously, "Miss, please don't be angry. This was my decision to bring them here." Before she could finish, Cynthia kicked her hard in the stomach and cursed coldly, "You blind idiot. You're all fired. Get the hell out of my sight." The kick sent the foreman crashing to the floor, and several shards of broken glass immediately pierced her body. Despite the intense pain, the foreman was more worried about herself. Clutching her abdomen, she cried out weakly, "My stomach hurts. Lily, call for help." Lily, who had narrowly avoided Cynthia's wrath by standing aside, rushed over in panic. "Sister Nan, are you okay? Hold on, I'll call an ambulance right now." Cynthia looked at her with utter contempt and sneered, "Stop pretending to be pitiful in front of me. Do you want me to pay you money for this?" Still holding the phone, Lily snapped back furiously, "How can you be so heartless? Sister Nan is 3 months pregnant. You kicked her stomach. If anything happens to the baby, no amount of money will fix it." Cynthia frowned and replied coldly, "Who the hell do you think you are, daring to talk to me like that?" The girl retorted angrily, "We're human beings, not objects. Even if we're not rich or powerful, our lives still matter. Why are you attacking us like this?" Cynthia was completely furious. In her entire life, aside from groveling before her father, no one had ever dared to confront her this way. Yet today, she had been humiliated by Charlie and now openly challenged by a group of lowly waitresses. The humiliation made her blood boil. Ignoring the fact that the foreman was pregnant, she stepped forward, snatched the phone from Lily's hand, and smashed it viciously onto the floor. Immediately after, she slapped Lily hard across the face, gritting her teeth as she spat, "How dare you yell at me?" At that moment, Isaac Cameron hurried over and asked in concern, "Miss, what happened here?" Seeing Isaac, Cynthia said icily, "Perfect timing. How exactly do you manage your staff? They actually dare to talk back to me. Is this how Sky Garden treats its guests?" Realizing that Cynthia was venting her anger on his employees, Isaac quickly said, "Miss, please don't be upset. These three obviously don't know their place. I will deal with this matter strictly. Let me escort you back to your room so you can rest." Still furious, Cynthia glared at him and snapped, "Make sure these three bitches never appear in front of me again." With that, she slapped Lily once more and stormed away without looking back. Chapter 1881. As soon as Cynthia left, Isaac Cameron immediately turned to the three employees and asked seriously, "What exactly happened?" Lily, still trembling, said, "Mr. Cameron, Miss Cynthia got angry and flipped the table. Sister Nan brought us over to clean up the broken glass, but Miss Cynthia suddenly attacked us and kicked Sister Nan in the stomach. She's pregnant. I tried to call an ambulance, but Miss Cynthia smashed my phone." Sister Nan, sitting on the floor and clutching her stomach in pain, said weakly, "Mr. Cameron, this is my fault. Please don't punish them. If the company needs to blame someone, let it be me alone." Isaac Cameron sighed deeply and said, "This is on me. I failed to protect you all. I'll immediately arrange for someone to take you to the hospital. You will each receive 1 month of paid leave and $200,000 in compensation." Then he looked at Sister Nan with a solemn expression and said, "I'll personally contact the best obstetrician in Oris Hill to ensure your baby's safety. If the child can be saved, I'll cover $200,000 in medical expenses for the baby. If the worst happens, you'll receive $500,000 in compensation and a full year of paid leave to recover and prepare for the future." Hearing this, the three women finally breathed a sigh of relief. They had initially feared that Isaac Cameron would side with Cynthia and punish them instead. They never expected him to care so much about their well-being. As the three women tearfully thanked him, Isaac offered a few comforting words before calling security to escort them to the hospital. After confirming they were safely admitted, Isaac returned to his office, feeling heavy-hearted. "I really don't know how long Cynthia will keep stirring up trouble in Oris Hill, or what extreme things she might do next. As a member of the Wade family, I can't simply suppress her. If she decides to go on a rampage here, there's very little I can do. All I can hope for is that Master Wade intervenes." Meanwhile, Charlie was completely unaware of his aunt's actions and was focused on preparing for the upcoming spring festival with his family. This was their first New Year at Thompson First Villa, and the family of four wanted to celebrate properly. Claire had bought all kinds of festive decorations, window grills, stickers, red lanterns, and more, to fill the house with a New Year atmosphere. Although Elaine was usually lazy, her vanity pushed her to want everything to look perfect, so she enthusiastically helped Claire decorate. When Charlie returned home, he joined them as well. Claire excitedly brought out a set of beautifully crafted red lanterns she had ordered online and said to Elaine, "Mom, I want to decorate both the second and third floor terraces. Let's hang these lanterns on the railings and turn them on at night. It'll look amazing." Elaine nodded immediately. "Of course. It's the new year, we need it to feel lively. I'll hang them up later." Claire hesitated for a moment, then said, "Mom, there's something else I want to talk to you about." Elaine smiled. "Go ahead." Claire said carefully, "You've hung a lot of green hats on the third floor terrace. With the new year coming, maybe it's better to take them down." Elaine snorted. "Absolutely not. Those green hats are for that old bastard Christopher. I want him to see them every day and feel miserable. Taking them down would be a waste." Claire sighed helplessly. "Mom, everyone's home is full of lights and celebration during the new year. If we keep those green hats up, it'll completely ruin the festive mood. Chapter 1882. That won't work, Elaine said firmly. Those green hats are my secret weapon against the Wilson family. I want them to be forced to remember that Hannah was always pregnant with a wild bastard. Suddenly, Elaine thought of something and laughed smugly. I've got it. I'll hang the red lanterns right next to the green hats. Once the lights are on, the contrast between the red lanterns and the green hats will be impossible to ignore. It'll drive those Wilson fuckers crazy. Claire tried to reason with her. Mom, it's the new year. We should be talking about forgiveness and letting go. Elaine sneered coldly. Don't even think about persuading me. It's useless. Do you think I've forgotten how that old bitch broke my leg? Or how she knocked out my 2 front teeth? I'll never forgive her for that shit. Seeing how resolute her mother was, Claire felt completely helpless. She knew there was no way she could change Elaine's mind. At that moment, Elaine grabbed a pile of red lanterns and headed for the elevator, declaring loudly, I'm going upstairs to hang these lanterns right next to those green hats. Half an hour later, under Lady Wilson's command, the Wilson family was busy decorating their villa, filling it with a lively New Year atmosphere. The Wilson family was no longer what it once was. Thanks to Donald's investment, the Wilson Group had revived. After clearing all its debts, they secured a small project from him, which turned out to be quite profitable. Lady Wilson had reclaimed the villa, along with all the antiques and artwork that had previously been seized by the bank. Moreover, Donald had generously lent them the Thompson First Villa for 10 years. With that in mind, Lady Wilson decided to rent out the old villa to earn extra income. With the company back on its feet and all assets recovered, Lady Wilson was overflowing with confidence. The Christopher family clearly understood that their future depended entirely on Lady Wilson, so they treated her like an empress. Christopher was also in high spirits. With the Wilson Group flourishing again, he, along with Harold, Wendy, and their children, all held important positions within the company. Harold and Wendy were once again enjoying life among the wealthy elite, and they were thrilled. Only Hannah was living in misery. No one in the family treated her with even a shred of kindness. Christopher and Lady Wilson loathed her deeply, but because of Donald's involvement, they couldn't kick her out. As a result, she became a constant thorn in their eyes. Harold and Wendy were equally ashamed of their mother, a woman who had gotten pregnant with a wild bastard and contracted a venereal disease. They avoided her every day, pretending she didn't exist. Being isolated and ignored by her own family crushed Hannah. What hurt most was watching the 4 of them laugh, smile, and prepare for the new year while she stayed behind to cook, clean, and do laundry, living like a fucking servant without pay. Watching them decorate, Hannah forced a smile and tried to please them. Mom, let me help too. I used to handle the New Year decorations back at the old villa every year. Lady Wilson shot her a vicious glare and snapped, What the hell do you think you're doing? Get back to scrubbing those windows. I want every single window in this villa sparkling clean by today. There are only 3 days left before the new year. Chapter 1883. When Lady Wilson ordered her to clean every window in the entire villa, Hannah felt complete despair. She couldn't help crying out, Mom! This villa is huge. There are so many rooms and windows. I won't even finish by the end of the first month. Lady Wilson mocked her coldly. You think you can delay it? Listen carefully. I want all the windows cleaned before New Year's Eve. If you manage that, I might allow you to eat New Year's dinner with us in the courtyard. Hannah was seething with rage. If Christopher, Harold, and Wendy hadn't been standing there, she would have rushed forward, kicked that old bitch to the ground, and slapped her face until it swelled. But reality crushed her thoughts. She had no choice. Swallowing all her resentment, Hannah lowered her head and said bitterly, Okay, Mom. I understand. I'll clean them. Lady Wilson sneered. Still pretending to be obedient? You're nothing but a shameless woman who disgraced this family. If you don't behave yourself, not even Donald will be able to save your sorry ass. Hannah's hatred grew even stronger. But she didn't dare talk back. She could only nod humiliatingly. "You're right, Mom. I'll listen." At that moment, Christopher spoke up. "Mom, I'm going upstairs to hang some decorations." Lady Wilson waved her hand impatiently and barked at Hannah, "What are you standing there for? Start cleaning those windows right now." With no other option, Hannah turned away and began working. Christopher went upstairs to his bedroom. As he prepared to hang window grills, he suddenly noticed a row of bright red lanterns glowing on Elaine's balcony across from Charlie's house. What made his blood boil was that every red lantern was hanging right beside a green hat. The sight made his scalp tingle. Rage exploded inside Christopher. "Fuck," he cursed furiously. "That bitch Elaine has gone too far. Hanging green hats and putting red lanterns right next to them? She's deliberately humiliating me. I can't fucking stand this." The thought of Elaine ruining his new year made Christopher furious. He stormed downstairs and shouted at Harold, who was installing window grills in the living room, "Harold, come with me. We're going to find Elaine." Lady Wilson frowned and asked sharply, "What are you planning to do by going to Elaine?" Christopher snapped angrily, "Mom, that disgusting Elaine is asking for it. She hung up all those green hats, and now she's added red lanterns next to them. She's celebrating my humiliation. I have to confront her." Lady Wilson shouted coldly, "Stop right there. If you go looking for Elaine, do you plan to pick a fight with Charlie too? Do you want to spend the new year lying in a hospital bed?" Christopher, who had been raging just moments earlier, immediately shut his mouth. Chapter 1884. Charlie's strength was terrifyingly abnormal. If he was at home, going to look for trouble with his family would be no different from walking straight into a grave. With that thought in mind, Christopher clenched his teeth and said angrily, "Mom, I don't want to provoke him today, but there's no fucking way I'm letting Elaine wear those ridiculous green hats during the new year." Lady Wilson sneered dismissively. "If she likes wearing them, let her wear them. What does face matter to our family now? Money is what truly matters." Christopher snapped irritably, "But I can't tolerate Elaine's bullshit forever. How long is this humiliation supposed to last?" At that moment, Harold spoke up with a grave expression. "Dad, haven't you always said you wanted to find a chance to deal with Elaine? I think now is the perfect time. We should act before the new year and make it miserable for Charlie's family. If we do this, Mr. Webb will have something to see. Otherwise, if we take his money and do nothing, he'll lose patience with us." Christopher's eyes lit up as he slapped his thigh. Exactly. That crazy bitch Elaine had a cast on her leg before, which kept her stuck at home. But now that it's off, she'll definitely go out to prepare for the new year in the next few days. We should provoke her and teach her a lesson. He then turned toward Lady Wilson. "What do you think, Mom?" Lady Wilson thought for a moment before nodding slowly. "Elaine definitely needs to be taught a lesson. At the very least, we have to stir up trouble for Charlie's family. Otherwise, Donald will be unhappy." Suddenly, she remembered something and said excitedly, "Donald is coming to Oris Hill tomorrow to inspect several projects and will likely stay overnight." Christopher immediately grew excited. "Mom, this is the perfect opportunity to repay Mr. Webb. He let us live in this villa and invested in the Wilson Group just so we could stay close to Charlie's family and discuss them. If we take his money and do nothing, we'll be finished the moment he decides to settle accounts with us." Lady Wilson nodded but warned sternly, "You can do it, but be careful. You must not kill anyone. Otherwise, even Donald won't be able to protect us." Christopher grinned viciously. "Don't worry, Mom. I've already thought it through. I plan to kidnap Elaine, take humiliating photos of her, and, if possible, find someone to fuck her and get her pregnant. I want to completely ruin that family." Lady Wilson frowned. "I don't care how you plan it, but you must never do it personally." Christopher nodded. "Rest assured. I know exactly what I'm doing." Harold eagerly asked, "Dad, are we doing it tomorrow?" "Of course," Christopher said with a cruel smile. "We'll grab her tomorrow and give Mr. Webb a proper show tonight." Harold immediately added, "Dad, I know a few reliable guys who can help." Christopher nodded approvingly. "Good. Get some strong young men and a van. I know someone who owns an empty warehouse in the suburbs. We'll take Elaine there." Wendy, who had been listening quietly, asked, "Dad, what if Elaine doesn't go out tomorrow?" Harold echoed the concern. "Yeah, Dad. What if she stays at home?" Christopher laughed coldly. "If she doesn't come out, I'll force her to. I've been watching her habits for a long time. Trust me, I have a way to lure that stupid bitch out on her own." Chapter 1885. The next morning arrived early. Claire and Jacob left the house at dawn, each heading out to handle their own affairs. Since Claire's studio followed national legal holidays, it would be closed on New Year's Eve and remain shut for 7 days, reopening only on the 6th day of the Lunar New Year. Jacob's Calligraphy and Painting Association, on the other hand, was more of a hobby group with no fixed schedule. Whether it opened or not depended entirely on the mood of its members. Jacob was especially eager to go out. As long as he left the house, he wouldn't have to deal with Elaine. Meanwhile, Elaine stayed home, busy preparing ingredients for the New Year's Eve dinner. Charlie also got up early and checked the operational report Liam had sent him from Oracle Pharmaceutical. At present, several production lines at Kobayashi Pharmaceutical in Japan had been successfully converted to Oracle Nova Dias, and a large amount of inventory had already been secured. Charlie planned to officially launch Oracle Nova Dias on the first day of the Lunar New Year in Japan, alongside advertisements aired on major Japanese television networks featuring Stephanie as the spokesperson. As one of Asia's top actresses, Stephanie had tremendous influence in Japan. Coupled with the superior effectiveness of Nova Dias compared to competing products, Charlie was confident it would explode in the Japanese market. While Elaine was preparing ingredients downstairs, the doorbell suddenly rang. She walked into the yard, saw a courier standing outside, and opened the gate. The courier asked politely, "Is this Miss Elaine's residence?" Elaine nodded. "Yes, that's me. What's the matter?" The courier handed her a small package. "Miss Elaine, you have a City Express delivery. Please sign here." "For me?" Elaine was stunned. She rarely shopped online and hadn't ordered anything recently. Why would there be a package addressed to her? Out of curiosity, she signed for it and opened the package. Inside was a trial set of luxury body care essential oils, along with a beautifully designed card and a printed letter. Elaine opened the letter and read, "Dear esteemed guest, congratulations on receiving a full body spa treatment package from Lizzie High-End Beauty and Wellness Club, valued at $8,888. With this card, you may visit our store at any time to enjoy complimentary full spa services. No appointment required." Elaine's eyes lit up. Holy shit! A free full body spa? Is this for real? Just imagining herself lying on a massage bed while being pampered made her heart race. She thought to herself, "I haven't enjoyed a high-end spa in ages. I've been stuck at home doing nothing lately. What if this was sent by mistake? I should go enjoy it before anyone realizes and takes it back." With that thought, Elaine stuffed the card into her pocket and rushed upstairs to the 3rd floor to change clothes. Before going downstairs, she stopped at the door of Charlie and Claire's bedroom on the 2nd floor, knocked gently, and called out cheerfully, "Good morning, my good son-in-law. Are you awake yet?" Charlie opened the door, still a little groggy. "Mom, what's going on?" Elaine smiled warmly. "Nothing serious. Breakfast is ready in the kitchen. Go eat it while it's still hot." Chapter 1886. Charlie nodded and said, "All right, Mom. Go ahead if you have something to do." Elaine flashed him a hurried smile and replied, "Great. Mom's heading out now. If you need anything, just call me." "Okay," Charlie answered. He didn't give it much thought. After all, Elaine was an adult, and it was perfectly normal for her to go out on her own. Meanwhile, Christopher stood on the terrace of his room, staring intently at the entrance to Charlie's house. The moment he saw Elaine rush out, a sinister smile crept onto his face. He hurried downstairs and shouted to Harold, "Harold! Elaine's out. How are things on your end? Are your people ready?" Harold grinned confidently. "Dad, don't worry. Everything's already arranged. Elaine won't be coming back anytime soon." Christopher waved him over impatiently. "Come here. Let's go through the entire plan again. I want to make sure nothing's been overlooked." Wendy and Lady Wilson also leaned in, eager to hear the details. Harold puffed out his chest proudly and said, "First, the beauty spa card that was delivered to Elaine just now, it's from Lazy Beauty Health Club. The owner is an old friend of mine. His business is on the verge of collapse, and he's preparing to sell the shop. Unfortunately, no one's willing to take it over in this economic climate." Christopher scowled. "Get to the fucking point." Harold quickly said, "Don't rush, Dad. I need to explain the whole thing clearly." Christopher snorted. "Fine. Go on." Harold continued, "Since my friend is already desperate, I figured we could take advantage of the New Year period, when people are too busy to visit beauty salons. I proposed cooperation and offered him $200,000. Since he's planning to shut down anyway, he was more than happy to earn some extra cash before leaving." Wendy asked curiously, "Brother, are you planning to tie Elaine up inside the beauty salon after luring her there?" "Yes," Harold said decisively. "That beauty salon has a back entrance. Once Elaine goes in for the spa, I'll have a technician secretly put sleeping pills into her drink. When she's completely knocked out, we'll carry her out through the back door and abduct her without anyone noticing." Hannah, who had been listening from the side, hurriedly asked, "Harold, what are you planning to do with Elaine after you capture her?" Harold hesitated. "I haven't fully decided yet. Any ideas?" Hannah clenched her teeth and said viciously, "Send her to a coal mine and make her work there until she dies." Harold replied awkwardly, "I don't know anyone who runs a coal mine." Wendy chimed in eagerly, "Then send her to Africa to cut sugarcane. I've heard there are plenty of illegal labor camps there where people are forced to work like animals for the rest of their lives." Harold coughed and shook his head. "That involves illegal immigration. I don't have connections that deep." Hannah grew anxious and blurted out, "Harold, don't tell me you're just planning to drug her, take some photos, and let her go. That's way too fucking merciful." Although Christopher found Hannah disgusting, he nodded in agreement. "She's right. Letting someone just sleep with Elaine might even be doing that bitch a favor." Lady Wilson thought for a moment, then said coldly, "We're helping Mr. Webb deal with Elaine. Why don't you call him and ask whether he knows someone who runs a black coal kiln? If he does, we can send Elaine there to rot." Chapter 1887. Recently, Donald's life had taken a sharp downturn. His eldest son, Sean, was still recuperating at home from his injuries. His second son, Kian, showed no signs of improvement and had nearly given up on treatment altogether. To make matters worse, Donald's wife, Xenia, was in the process of divorcing him. The root of the conflict was the deaths of his younger brother, Marconi, and Marconi's wife, Lily. Xenia believed Donald had failed to protect his brother and had not pursued justice for their murders. What enraged her even more was that instead of avenging his brother, Donald spent his days cursing Marconi, who was already dead and unable to defend himself. In truth, Donald deeply despised Marconi. In his view, Marconi had ruined the Webb family's reputation, causing their market value to plummet. Once the most powerful family in South Haven, the Webb family had now fallen out of the top 3 and barely managed to cling to a place within the top 10. What disgusted Donald the most was Xenia's constant praise of Marconi. To him, she was blind and ignorant. He had never blamed her for spoiling Kian, which had dragged the entire family into chaos, yet she had the audacity to blame him instead. It felt utterly unreasonable. As a result, their marriage had descended into a prolonged Cold War. In the past, Donald doted on Xenia endlessly, but now he barely spoke to her, pouring all his energy into his career instead. At this stage, Donald had only one goal: to revive the Webb family's former glory. Coincidentally, he was currently overseeing a real estate project in Orris Hill and had arrived early that morning from South Haven to conduct an inspection. The moment he arrived at the site, he received a call from Christopher. Christopher greeted him eagerly. "Hello, Mr. Webb. Long time no see." Donald replied coldly, "Christopher, why are you calling me?" Christopher quickly said, "Mr. Webb, with the new year approaching, our family has been discussing how to make sure Charlie's family doesn't have a peaceful holiday. We've decided to take action today. Charlie's mother-in-law, Elaine, has already been set up. We'll handle her first, then take photos and videos and spread them online to completely humiliate Charlie's family." Donald's interest was immediately piqued, and his tone softened. "Oh? Your family finally grew some balls and decided to move against Charlie?" Christopher admitted honestly, "Mr. Webb, I didn't have a solid plan before, so I didn't dare act rashly. But this time, everything is arranged perfectly." He added bitterly, "Charlie's been acting like a big shot in Oris Hill. I've even heard people calling him the real dragon. I want to see if this little stunt can smash his reputation into the ground." Donald laughed. "Good. Very good. If you pull this off properly, I won't treat you unfairly." Excited, Christopher quickly asked, "Mr. Webb, that's actually why I called. Do you happen to know someone who runs a black coal kiln? If you do, that would be perfect. Once we're done with Elaine, I can send her straight to a black coal mine." The line fell silent for a brief moment. Chapter 1888. Donald paused for a moment before responding, "There aren't many coal mines in the South, so I really don't know anyone who operates black coal kilns." Then a thought struck him, and he grinned as he continued, "But I do know someone back home who runs a brick factory. Working in a brick factory isn't easy, it's even worse than working in a black coal kiln. You can send Charlie's mother-in-law there as a laborer." Christopher immediately smiled and replied, "Oh, Mr. Webb, that sounds perfect. A woman like her deserves to be thrown into a brick factory and worked to death." He quickly added, "Mr. Webb, could you please share your friend's address? Once Elaine is dealt with, I'll send her over right away." "No problem." Donald sneered. "I already have a deep grudge against Charlie. Since I've just arrived in Oris Hill, I wouldn't want to miss such a good show. Tie her up first and send me the address. I'll go over and watch it myself." Christopher agreed eagerly. "Mr. Webb, don't worry. I'll handle this properly and call you so you can witness everything firsthand." Donald nodded with a cold smile. "All right. I still have work to deal with. Call me once it's done." "Understood, Mr. Webb." As soon as Christopher hung up, he could no longer contain his excitement and announced to his family, "Mr. Webb said he has a friend who owns a brick factory. Once we capture Elaine, we'll send that bitch there to work herself to death for the rest of her life." Hearing this, Hannah felt a surge of resentment and shouted angrily, "When I was sent to a black coal kiln, how is it fair that Elaine only gets sent to a brick factory? That's way too fucking lenient for her." Christopher shot her a cold glance and snapped, "You don't know shit. Brick factories are far worse than black coal kilns. Coal kilns are dirty and exhausting, but at least they're warm in winter and cool in summer. Brick factories burn fires all year long, the heat alone can drive people insane. Carrying bricks day and night is just as brutal as digging coal. Overall, brick factories are hell compared to coal kilns." Hannah finally felt a bit reassured. Still, another thought lingered in her mind, but she chose not to voice it aloud. Instead, she muttered to herself, "I wonder if Elaine will run into some sleazy supervisor at the brick factory. If she does, that would be perfect. Maybe she'll even get fucked up so badly she ends up pregnant and sick." Meanwhile, in the presidential suite of the Shangri-La Hotel, Cynthia was on the phone, reporting to Lord Wade. During the call, she deliberately painted Charlie as a scoundrel with a twisted personality, a foul temper, and terrible character. She emphasized angrily, "Dad, Charlie hasn't had any proper education for years and has extremely low quality. We absolutely cannot let him return to the Wade family. Otherwise, he'll bring nothing but shame to us." Lord Wade listened quietly before replying coldly, "Cynthia, I always thought you were smart. I didn't expect you to be so easily driven by your emotions." Cynthia's heart clenched, and she blurted out nervously, "Dad, what did I do wrong? Lord Wade replied icily, you still don't understand why I want Charlie back. Cynthia stammered, Dad. I honestly don't get it. With Charlie's trash character, we shouldn't just keep him away, we should cut all ties with him completely. Lord Wade snorted. What I want right now is for one of my grandsons to marry either Zara or Stephanie from the Banks family. At the moment, Charlie is our best chance. Chapter 1889. How is that even possible? Cynthia exclaimed in disbelief. Dad, it's been years since you last saw Charlie. You're clearly idealizing him. Let me be blunt, Charlie is now involved in shady business in some backwater place. Both Zara and Stephanie are famous socialites in Eastcliff. How could either of them ever look at him? Lord Wade replied coldly, I met Orrin at the Chamber of Commerce yesterday. I asked him whether he still remembered Charlie's engagement to his daughter. He told me on the spot that if he could find Charlie, he wouldn't hesitate at all, he would immediately marry his daughter to him. He continued sternly, Orrin also said that no matter what Charlie is doing now, even if he's reduced to begging on the streets, he will still be the Banks family's future son-in-law. Their family agreed on this long ago. Cynthia was stunned. Is that for real? Has Orrin completely lost his fucking mind? Lord Wade snapped sharply, I don't care whether Orrin is insane or not. What matters is this, you must do everything possible to make Charlie return for the new year. Feeling both frustrated and wronged, Cynthia argued, Dad, things already spiraled out of control yesterday. I lost my temper and had a huge fight with him. He didn't eat anything and just walked away. What an idiot. Lord Wade roared. Don't fucking play innocent with me. With the way you behaved, you have no right to say anyone else went too far. He continued ruthlessly, I don't want to hear any more excuses. I want Charlie back. If he refuses, then you'd better figure out another way. Cynthia hurriedly asked, another way? What do you mean? Lord Wade said coldly, doesn't he have a wife in Orris Hill? Can't you find a way to approach either his wife or his father-in-law? Cynthia answered without hesitation, then I'll meet his wife, give her some money, and force her to divorce Charlie. No, Lord Wade interrupted. Don't touch his wife for now. Start with his mother-in-law. I've heard she's greedy, shallow, and obsessed with money. Cynthia responded quickly, all right. I'll find a way to get close to his mother-in-law. Good, Lord Wade warned. When you meet her, do not expose your identity. If those lowlifes find out that Charlie is connected to the Wade family of Eastcliff, they'll never let that woman agree to a divorce. Understood, Dad. I won't let anything slip. After hanging up, Cynthia immediately took out her phone and called the bodyguard who had followed her to Orris Hill. She ordered coldly, find out where Charlie's mother-in-law is. I need to meet her. Meanwhile, Elaine hurried into a taxi and rushed to the beauty club where she had received the package card. Upon entering, she handed over the card nervously, worried it might not work or that something could go wrong. To her surprise, the clerk greeted her warmly. Hello, madam. Your package card is valid at any time, no appointment needed. Would you like to enjoy our services now? Overjoyed, Elaine replied, of course. I took a taxi all the way here. I didn't come just to ask questions. Arrange a technician immediately, I want to start right now. The clerk nodded respectfully. Madam, our spa treatment begins with a bathing session. I'll guide you to bathe and change, and then I'll arrange a technician for you. Elaine was thrilled. Ever since she had money, she still hadn't truly indulged herself in high-end salons or spas. She was familiar with how luxury spas worked, starting with a flower petal milk bath, followed by disposable underwear, and then a full-body massage. As she followed the clerk into the bathroom, Elaine's eyes lit up at the sight of the bathtub filled with warm water, milk, flower petals, and bath salts. She beamed and said, Wow! Your service is really first class. Hurry up and prepare the bath for me. Chapter 1890. The clerk sensed that Elaine might have noticed something unusual. Flustered, he quickly explained, here's the situation. We had a customer who booked a spa appointment, and the bath was already prepared. She later said she couldn't come for now, so you're free to use one of the prepared options. Elaine smiled brightly and replied, "Oh, what a wonderful coincidence. It seems fate wants me to enjoy myself today." With that, she waved the clerk away and said, "All right, you can leave now. I'll take my bath alone. Just make sure the technician is ready for me later." "All right," the clerk replied. As soon as he stepped out, he hurried off to inform the boss. When the boss heard that Elaine had arrived, he immediately called Harold and said, "Harold, she's here and already soaking in the bath. When are you coming?" Harold replied excitedly, "That's great news. Old Ben, make sure everything runs smoothly. Don't let anything go wrong. I'm on my way now." The salon owner laughed and reassured him, "Don't worry, Harold. You're practically family. I'll handle this perfectly." "Good," Harold said with a grin. "I'll be there in half an hour." Before hanging up, he added, "Ben, don't take in any other customers this morning. We can't afford any accidents." "Rest assured," Ben replied. "I won't take any other customers today. I'll focus entirely on this." Meanwhile, as Elaine relaxed in the bathtub, a luxurious Rolls-Royce slowly pulled up outside the beauty salon. A tall bodyguard stepped out of the passenger seat and immediately opened the rear door. Cynthia stepped out gracefully, dressed in elegant attire. She glanced at the beauty salon's entrance and sneered. "What a shabby place. It doesn't meet my standards at all." In reality, the salon was well decorated. Although it wasn't top tier, it was far beyond what most housewives in Oris Hill could afford. However, to someone like Cynthia, who came from the uppermost elite circle, it was nothing impressive. The cost of a single treatment at a truly high-end salon could easily buy this entire place. The bodyguard leaned closer and whispered, "Miss, the woman you're looking for is inside receiving a treatment. She arrived about 10 minutes ago." Cynthia nodded coldly. "Let's go in." "Yes, Mississippi." The bodyguard led the way and pushed open the salon door. The clerk immediately rushed over and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, but we're not accepting customers this morning." Cynthia frowned and questioned sharply, "Not accepting customers? Then how did a woman named Elaine just come in for a spa treatment?" Chapter 1891. The clerk froze, unsure how to answer. She knew very well that the boss had already instructed her not to receive any customers that morning, meaning no one was allowed inside. Hesitantly, she said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we're really not accepting guests right now. Ms. Elaine made an appointment in advance, so I'm afraid I can't let you in." Cynthia felt her anger surge. She had lowered herself to step into this shabby beauty salon, feeling like a phoenix walking among chickens. Yet this chicken coop actually dared to bar her entry. Furious, she snapped, "You won't let me in? Fine. Just wait, you'll regret this." The clerk panicked. She could tell at a glance that Cynthia was not an ordinary person, and offending her would bring serious trouble. Reluctantly, she said respectfully, "Please wait a moment, ma'am. I'll go speak to our boss right away." Cynthia waved her hand impatiently. "Hurry up. My patience is limited." The clerk rushed into the boss's office, where he was busy packing up valuable items. He planned to help Harold this time, pocket the $200,000, and then empty the shop overnight. When customers returned the next day, the salon would already be gone. This was a common scam among gyms and beauty salons, taking advantage of prepaid clients and disappearing overnight. Breathing heavily, the clerk said, "Boss, there's a woman outside who insists on coming in. I can't stop her. You need to deal with this." The boss frowned. "What woman? Didn't you tell her we're not accepting customers this morning?" "I did," the clerk replied anxiously. "But she insists because of a customer named Elaine. Why can't she come in?" The boss's expression changed immediately. "Did you mention Elaine's name?" I didn't know," the clerk said. After thinking for a moment, the boss said, "All right. I'll go see what she wants." He stood up and walked toward the front desk. When he saw Cynthia, he instantly realized she was someone with powerful backing, which made him uneasy. He quickly approached her and asked politely, "Ma'am, how may I help you?" Cynthia replied coldly, "Your salon is open, so why won't you let me in?" "What do you mean by not accepting customers in the morning?" The boss forced a smile and said, "We already have guests booked for a full set of services this morning, so it's inconvenient to receive more customers. If you come back this afternoon or tomorrow, I'll personally arrange our best technician for you." Cynthia sneered. "Save your sales pitch. I didn't come to this rundown place to spend money." The boss frowned slightly and asked, "If you're not here to spend money, then what exactly are you here for?" Chapter 1892. Cynthia said, "I'm looking for Elaine, who just arrived at your place for nursing care. I have something private to discuss with her." Upon hearing this, the boss's expression darkened immediately. Irritated, he replied, "If you're not here for our services, then I suggest you leave. If you want to talk to someone, you need to book a private room. I don't provide that kind of service." Cynthia exchanged a meaningful glance with the bodyguard, who immediately took out $50,000 in cash from a small suitcase and placed it on the counter. Seeing the money, the boss's attitude changed instantly. He put on a smile and asked, "What can I do for you, madam?" Cynthia replied coolly, "I want to see Elaine. I need to speak with her privately for about half an hour. During that time, no one is allowed to interrupt. This $50,000 is your compensation. Do you understand?" The boss's mind raced. "Harold told me to slip Elaine some sleeping pills. Once she's unconscious, Harold will take her away. This woman wants half an hour of conversation and is offering $50,000 for it. If I let Harold wait and drug Elaine after they finish talking, I can earn both sums." With that thought, he quickly nodded and said, "No problem at all. Half an hour won't be an issue. Ms. Elaine is currently bathing. You can wait in the spa room." Cynthia nodded and said to her bodyguard, "Come with me." "Wait," the boss stopped her. "This is a women-only establishment. Our members sometimes dress very casually, sometimes wearing nothing at all. Even I'm not allowed into the private areas. You can't bring this gentleman inside." Cynthia didn't sense any danger in an ordinary beauty salon, so she said to the bodyguard, "You can wait outside." The bodyguard nodded. Since Cynthia had come on short notice and there were no suspicious people around, she didn't worry too much. As the bodyguard stayed by the entrance, Cynthia asked the boss, "Can we go in now?" The boss smiled. "Our staff will escort you. I can't enter myself." "All right," Cynthia replied and followed the staff member inside. The beauty salon was thoughtfully designed. The reception and lobby were at the front, followed by a long corridor leading to the bathing area, and farther inside were the spa rooms. This layout ensured that customers receiving spa treatments could enjoy complete peace and quiet. If the spa rooms were closer to the street, traffic noise would easily disrupt the atmosphere. After walking down the corridor, Cynthia was led to one of the spa rooms. The staff member said respectfully, "Please wait here for a moment, madam. I'll bring Ms. Elaine once she finishes bathing." Cynthia nodded, took out $10,000 in cash from her Hermes handbag, handed it to the staff member, and said, "Don't tell her I'm waiting here. Just bring her in." "Understood." The staff member accepted the money eagerly and replied, "Of course. I won't say anything." "Good," Cynthia said. "You can go now." After the staff member left, Cynthia looked around the room and frowned in displeasure. She then took out a check she had prepared earlier, worth $1 billion, which she originally planned to use to buy Elaine's freedom. However, as she looked at the low-end environment of the salon, she couldn't help sighing inwardly. Elaine actually comes to a place like this for spa treatments. She's clearly never seen real money. Offering her $1 billion is overkill. Chapter 1893. Thinking this through, Cynthia carefully put the $1 billion check back into her wallet. She felt that if she was going to buy a woman like Elaine, that amount was far too excessive. She then took out her checkbook again and wrote a temporary check for $100 million instead. Her plan was to save the $1 billion check for later, using it to lure Elaine into returning to Eastcliff and forcing her daughter to divorce Charlie. If that worked, her mission in Oris Hill would be halfway complete. After writing the check for $100 million, Cynthia took out an expensive Hermes silk scarf and placed it neatly on the sofa before sitting down. Meanwhile, Elaine was still soaking in the bathtub. Although she had already finished bathing, she stayed inside longer, believing that the milk petal bath would deeply moisturize her skin and make the extra time worthwhile. At that moment, Harold and Christopher arrived at the back of the beauty salon in a large van with several young men. They parked discreetly near the rear entrance. Harold called the boss, Ben, and asked, "Ben, is everything ready? Have you dealt with Elaine yet? I'm already at the back door." Ben thought to himself, "I can't risk losing that extra $50,000. I need to play this safe." So he replied, "Wait a bit. Elaine is still in the bath. I'm preparing the special drink now. Once she's done bathing, I'll make sure she drinks it. I'll call you as soon as she's out cold, then you can bring your people in." Harold grinned and said, "Ben, you're reliable as always. All right, I'll wait. Call me the moment it's done." "No problem. Just stay put." After soaking for another 10 minutes, Elaine finally stepped out of the bathtub. Her skin looked slightly pale from the heat of the water. She pressed the service bell, and the same staff member quickly came in with a clean towel. The staff member wrapped the towel around Elaine and asked attentively, "Madam, would you like disposable underwear? I can prepare some for you." She added, "All our technicians and staff are women, so it's fine if you choose not to wear any." After thinking for a moment, Elaine replied, "I'll wear them. This isn't a public bathhouse, and it would feel awkward to be completely naked." The staff member nodded, quickly opened a pack of disposable underwear, and prepared a bathrobe as well. After Elaine put on the bathrobe, she was led toward the spa room. When the door opened, the staff member said, "Ms. Elaine, please come in." Elaine stepped inside and immediately noticed a well-dressed woman sitting on the sofa. She turned to the staff member with annoyance and said, "Is this your technician? She's dressed way too extravagantly. With all those accessories, she looks like a jewelry store mannequin. What if I accidentally scratch something?" Hearing this, Cynthia felt her anger flare. She sneered inwardly, "What a ridiculous woman. Who does she think she is, calling me flashy?" Chapter 1894. The clerk felt a wave of embarrassment wash over her. As she glanced at Cynthia, she struggled to find the right way to introduce Elaine. Cynthia, wearing an arrogant expression, frowned and instructed the clerk, "You can leave now. I'll handle this." Without hesitation, the clerk exited the room, almost as if she had been granted amnesty, and quietly closed the door behind her. Elaine eyed Cynthia with suspicion and asked coldly, "Who are you?" Cynthia replied dismissively, "You don't need to know who I am." Elaine scoffed. "Look who's talking. What kind of big shot do you think you are? Dressed in flashy clothes, flaunting a fake Hermes. You think you're impressive, huh?" Cynthia fired back angrily, "What the hell are you talking about? I'm wearing a custom coat from Chanel's top designer. My Hermes is a limited edition. The clothes I'm wearing are worth at least $50 million. Elaine rolled her eyes. "Spare me the bullshit. You think I'm some ignorant bunny who's never seen the world? Your so-called limited edition Hermes is trash. Let me show you what real luxury looks like." With that, Elaine took her Hermes backpack out of the locker, slipped it onto her arm, and shoved it right in front of Cynthia. "Here, take a good look. This is real Hermes, simple and elegant. Got it?" Cynthia glanced at Elaine's bag and suddenly burst into laughter. Seeing her reaction, Elaine sneered, "What's so funny? Are you scared to show off now that real Hermes is here?" Cynthia sighed, a mocking smile curling her lips. "I've seen real poverty before, and you fit the description perfectly." She looked Elaine up and down with disdain. "You actually dare to show off an entry-level Hermes in front of me?" As she spoke, Cynthia lifted her own Hermes bag and sneered, "Open your damn eyes. This Hermes could buy more than 100 of yours." You've got to be kidding me. Elaine shot back in disgust. Are you seriously bragging about that thing? You think you paid $10 million for that bag? Cynthia retorted sharply, it was $15 million. Elaine laughed coldly. What a joke. I could sell you by the pound, and you still wouldn't be worth $15 million. Get the hell out of my way and stop wasting my time. Cynthia was boiling with rage, itching to slap Elaine across the face. But remembering the purpose of her visit, she forced herself to endure it. Taking a deep breath, she said, Enough nonsense, Elaine. I came here to talk business. Elaine raised an eyebrow. Business? I don't do business with trash like you. Get out. Cynthia suppressed her fury and continued, Just listen. I want you to convince your daughter to divorce Charlie. If you agree, I'll give you this check. She pulled out a check and placed it in front of Elaine. This is $100 million. Agree, and the money is yours immediately. Elaine froze in shock. Cynthia smirked, her tone turning domineering. But listen carefully. Once you take my money, you follow my rules. If you dare disobey, you won't just return the money, there will be consequences. Chapter 1895. Elaine stared at Cynthia in disbelief and shouted, What the hell are you talking about? This check is worth $100 million. Seeing Elaine's reaction, Cynthia sneered sarcastically. Look at you, acting like a country bumpkin who's never seen the world. This is a Citibank cash check. Haven't you ever seen one? Someone like you probably never will again. Elaine hesitated, uncertainty flickering across her face. Watching this, Cynthia felt a surge of satisfaction. Holding the check up, she slapped it lightly against her palm and grinned arrogantly. Want this check? Then go convince your daughter to dump Charlie. Suddenly, Elaine's expression hardened. Before Cynthia could react, Elaine snatched the check, examined it carefully, and without hesitation, tore it into pieces. Cynthia was stunned into silence as she watched the $100 million check get shredded. She thought in shock, I really underestimated this woman. She tore it up without blinking. Her greed is bigger than I thought. Facing Elaine's furious glare, Cynthia clenched her teeth and shouted, Fine. If $100 million isn't enough, how about $200 million? Just get your daughter to divorce Charlie, and I'll write the check right now. She pulled out her checkbook from her Hermes bag, uncapped her pen, and said coldly, Think carefully. Say yes, and I'll write it immediately. As she spoke, Cynthia sneered inwardly. She's just a small-town woman. Even if she lives in Thompson First, she's still ignorant. Put enough money in front of her, and she'll kneel. Before she could finish her thought. Smack! A sharp pain exploded across Cynthia's left cheek. Elaine had slapped her hard. Cynthia was completely stunned. In her entire life, she had never suffered such humiliation, especially from someone she considered trash. Rage erupted as she screamed, Elaine! Are you fucking insane? How dare you hit me? Do you even know who I am? Before she could recover, Elaine lunged forward and kicked her square in the chest, sending her crashing onto the sofa. Though Cynthia was arrogant and loved bullying others, she had never been beaten like this before. As Elaine advanced again, Cynthia struggled to get up, her hair in complete disarray. She shouted hysterically, Elaine! Have you completely lost your mind? My mother is offering you money. If you don't want it, fine, but why attack me? A civilized person negotiates, not punches. Elaine sneered viciously. What kind of civilized person waves fake paper money in front of my face? If you dare try to scam my lady, why shouldn't I beat the shit out of you? I won't stop today, I'll make sure you remember this. Cynthia was utterly dumbfounded. She screamed in disbelief, Are you crazy? That's a Citibank cash check. From Citibank. Even if you've never seen the world, you should at least understand that much. Chapter 1896. Fuck you. Elaine stormed forward in a fit of rage, leaping onto Cynthia's stomach. Her mouth twisted in fury as she cursed and slapped her violently. "You think you can fool me? This lady has been deceived before, and you dare try to trick her again?" At that moment, Elaine's thoughts were consumed by Jacob's hospitalization. She urgently needed a check to pay for her daughter Claire's hospital fees. After receiving the check from Charlie, she had planned to use it to cover the medical expenses. To her shock, the check was for a staggering $100 million. The hospital cashier mocked her and threatened to call the police, accusing her of attempting fraud. Furious, Elaine went back to confront Charlie, only to discover that he had bought the check from a funeral home and intended to burn it as an offering to his deceased parents. That was why Cynthia was now holding a nearly identical $100 million check, the same kind Charlie had shown earlier. Elaine was seething with rage. To make matters worse, that insufferable Cynthia kept mentioning Citibank right in front of her. In Elaine's eyes, Citibank was the root of her greatest humiliation. It was that fake Citibank black gold card that had landed her in the detention center, where she suffered days of abuse at the hands of Lady Wilson, Wendy, and the brutish Gina. Those days were the darkest period of Elaine's life. Now, seeing Cynthia not only trying to scam her with a fake $100 million check meant for the dead, but also shamelessly bringing up Citibank, Elaine's anger exploded completely. Cynthia felt dizzy and nauseous from the beating. Her cheeks were swollen from Elaine's slaps, and the pain was unbearable. She screamed repeatedly, but her bodyguard was outside and couldn't hear her cries for help. Although Cynthia was stunned at first, she quickly realized that calling for her bodyguard was useless. She had no choice but to fight back. In a sudden move, she lunged forward, grabbed a fistful of Elaine's hair, and yanked it viciously. Caught off guard, Elaine felt a sharp pain shoot through her scalp. She screamed in shock and flailed her arms, trying to strike Cynthia back. As she struggled, she screamed, "You stupid bitch! How dare you pull my hair? I'll fucking kill you!" Cynthia refused to back down. Still clutching Elaine's hair, she pulled with all her strength and ripped out a chunk of it. Elaine instinctively grabbed her scalp and let out a scream of agony. Seizing the opportunity, Cynthia shoved Elaine to the floor and mounted her, ready to unleash her fury. "You dare fight me? I'll fucking end you, you shrew!" Cynthia was burning with rage. In that moment, she felt that if she had a weapon, she might truly beat Elaine to death. Outside, a waiter heard the commotion and rushed over. He threw the door open, saw the chaotic scene inside, and immediately sprinted to the boss's office, panting as he shouted, "Boss! This is bad! The two women, they're fighting inside the room." Chapter 1897. Hearing that two women were violently fighting, the owner of the beauty salon felt a surge of anger. What the hell? Weren't they supposed to be friends? Why are they fighting again? The clerk hurriedly added, "I don't know, but it's really bad. If you don't stop them, someone might get seriously hurt." Damn it! The salon owner felt a wave of panic. He hadn't left yet, and if things escalated and the police got involved, he would be completely screwed. He rushed toward the room, but before he even reached the door, he heard screams that clearly indicated someone was badly injured. From inside, Elaine's shrill voice rang out, "You filthy bitch! If this lady can't even fix that fat pig Gina, how the hell do you think I'd help trash like you?" Cynthia, clearly fighting back, gritted her teeth and roared, "Just wait. I won't let you off easy. You won't see tomorrow's sun." Slap! Elaine struck Cynthia again and cursed, "Shut that filthy mouth. Keep talking and I'll tear you apart." The salon owner cautiously cracked the door open to peek inside. When he saw both women with bloodied faces, he gasped in shock and immediately slammed the door shut again. "This is insane," he muttered nervously. "If this keeps going, someone's going to die." He rushed toward the back entrance and was startled to find a van parked awkwardly with its trunk facing the door. He hurried to the passenger side and peeked inside. Harold rolled down the window and asked eagerly, "Benny, did that stinking woman Elaine pass out?" The salon owner replied anxiously, "No. They're beating each other to death inside. If this keeps up, someone's going to die. You have to get in there and separate them." Harold looked stunned. What the hell is going on? You're fighting. With who? Feeling guilty but unwilling to admit that he had secretly let Cynthia in, the salon owner said urgently, I don't even know who they are. Just drag them out before everything goes to hell. If something happens, we're both finished. Hearing this, Harold immediately jumped out of the van and motioned for several young men to follow him. Led by the salon owner, the group rushed toward the spa room. Even before opening the door, they could hear chaos erupting inside. Harold kicked the door open and saw Elaine straddling a bloodied woman, beating her mercilessly. He shouted to his companions, grab the woman on top and get her into the car. Elaine turned around and screamed in terror, Harold. What the hell are you doing? Harold sneered. Second aunt, you've been enjoying life with our family for long enough. You even sent my mother to the black coal kiln. Now it's time to pay the price. With a wave of his hand, his men rushed forward and restrained Elaine. Cynthia, stunned by the sudden turn of events, felt immense relief as Elaine was pulled away. She shouted angrily, Elaine, I swear I'll make you pay for this. Just wait. As she spoke, she reached into her Hermes bag to grab her phone. Seeing this, Harold immediately shouted, What the fuck? You trying to call someone? Put that phone down now, or you'll regret it. Cynthia glared at him coldly and snapped back, This is between me and Elaine. Just hand her over to me, and I promise I'll make it worth your while. Harold's temper flared immediately. Chapter 1898. He thought to himself, Is this woman completely oblivious? Hand over Elaine to you? How the fuck will our family explain this to Mr. Webb? I don't care how you ended up here today. Since you and Elaine are involved, to avoid complications from my kidnapping of her, I can only take you away. Ignoring Cynthia, he addressed the young men around him. Tie this lady up and take her away. Cynthia shouted furiously, Tie me up. Do you even know who I am? Harold retorted coldly, I couldn't care less who you are. When you and Elaine are at the brick factory making bricks, you can tell her all about it. He then commanded the group, Get both of them. Cynthia, now hysterical, yelled, You dare lay a hand on me, I'm Siwayan, oh. Before she could finish, a towel was shoved into her mouth, silencing her. Elaine suffered the same fate. Once gagged, Harold ordered, Get them both in the car, now. The group swiftly escorted Elaine and Cynthia out through the back door and shoved them into the van. Turning to the owner of the beauty salon, Harold advised, Ben, I suggest you leave immediately. Don't hang around here. The salon owner protested, No, I still have some second-hand equipment and furniture I need to deal with. Harold pressed, What's that little bit of second-hand junk worth to you? Not much, but better than nothing. I could sell it for 10 or 20,000, the owner replied. Harold snapped, Forget about it. How long will it take to get that 20,000? If you wait for such a small amount and then need to escape, you'll regret it. Leave now. Once I'm gone, make sure to exit through the back door quickly. Considering Harold's words, the beauty salon owner realized, yes, the woman who came to see Elaine earlier had a companion waiting outside. If Harold takes her away, the other person will definitely come in to check. That could be a disaster. Anxiety washed over him. He had already made $200,000 from Harold and another $50,000 from Cynthia, a significant amount. If he didn't leave now and got caught, he would have no one to blame but himself. He quickly instructed his clerk, Go tell the technician to pack everything up. We leave in 5 minutes. The clerk nodded, Got it, boss. Before long, the van Harold arranged, carrying the bound Elaine and Cynthia, sped away from the back of the beauty salon. Just minutes later, the beauty salon owner, along with a clerk and technician, slipped out through the back door, laden with bags of varying sizes. Meanwhile, Cynthia's bodyguard waited by the Rolls-Royce on the street, unaware that Cynthia was being kidnapped from that seemingly ordinary beauty salon. 20 minutes passed with no sign of Cynthia. The bodyguard pulled out his phone to call her. At the same time, the van was making its way out of the city. Harold sat in the back seat, wearing a smug expression, while Elaine, bound tightly, lay at his feet. He deliberately pressed his foot on Elaine's face and sneered, "Elaine, I never thought you'd have such a day." Elaine could only whimper, unable to find her voice. Suddenly, from within Cynthia's bag beside him, a phone rang. Chapter 1899. Cynthia's cell phone abruptly rang, startling Harold. In a rush, he fished out an Apple phone from Cynthia's bag. Noticing an incoming call, he swiftly powered it off without a word and tossed it back into the bag. Cynthia whimpered for a moment, but there was nothing she could do. Deep regret filled her. She thought, "Isn't this just my own misfortune? Why am I involved with Elaine? If it weren't for her, I wouldn't be in this fucking situation." Yet, at this point, regret was useless. Even though she was Elder Wade's eldest daughter, she now found herself helpless and trapped. Meanwhile, outside Lazy Beauty Salon, Cynthia's bodyguard realized that she wasn't answering her phone. At first, he thought little of it. After all, she had gone to meet Elaine, and perhaps it was inconvenient to take a call during negotiations. However, to be safe, he dialed her again. To his shock, the phone was switched off. This alarming turn of events sent a wave of anxiety through Cynthia's bodyguard. In today's world, mobile phones are vital, and Cynthia rarely turned hers off during the day. Recognizing something was wrong, he quickly instructed the driver, "Let's go inside and check." The driver, also one of Cynthia's bodyguards, jumped out of the Rolls-Royce and hurried into the salon with the other bodyguards waiting by the vehicle. Upon entering, they immediately sensed trouble. The reception area was deserted, and the place appeared in disarray, clearly indicating a struggle had occurred. They searched room by room until reaching the spa room where Cynthia and Elaine had last been seen. The sight that greeted them, a room strewn with chaos, blood, and a lock of long hair on the floor, made their hearts sink. They exchanged horrified glances filled with despair. On the sofa lay silk scarves belonging to Cynthia. It was painfully clear that Cynthia had been abducted. The two bodyguards felt as if struck by lightning. They had been tasked with ensuring Cynthia's safety, and the thought of her being taken right under their noses was unbearable. One of them lamented, "This is a disaster. We've failed our duty, and this could cost us dearly." The other echoed, This can't be happening. Missy came to meet Elaine on a whim today, so there was no way her location could have been leaked. We weren't being followed. Who could have done this? It doesn't add up. Forget logic. Our top priority is to locate the eldest lady. Call Isaac Cameron immediately. He knows this area well and can help us. That's a good idea. Without hesitation, one of them pulled out his phone and dialed Isaac Cameron. At that moment, Isaac Cameron was at the hospital, visiting an employee who had suffered a miscarriage due to Cynthia's actions. Cynthia's kick not only caused the loss of the employee's child but also led to severe bleeding. Thankfully, she had received timely medical attention and was stable for now. Isaac felt a mix of anger and resentment at Cynthia's reckless behavior, but as a servant of the Wade family, he knew he had no right to criticize her. Chapter 1900. Thus, all Isaac could do was offer some comfort to the female employee, allowing her time and space to recover in peace. After leaving the ward, Isaac Cameron let out a heavy sigh. He wondered when his grandmother, Cynthia, would finally be discharged. Just as that thought crossed his mind, his phone suddenly rang. It was Cynthia's bodyguard calling. Isaac answered, "Hello, this is Isaac Cameron." The voice on the other end trembled with panic, almost breaking into tears. "Mr. Cameron, something terrible has happened." Isaac frowned immediately, sensing the gravity of the situation. "What happened? Why are you so panicked?" When he heard the explanation, Isaac's mind went blank for a moment. Kidnapped? Cynthia had been kidnapped in Oris Hill? Who the hell would dare to do such a thing, especially against the Wade family? He quickly said, "Stay calm. Explain everything clearly, from the beginning." The bodyguard hurriedly replied, "Today, the eldest lady went to meet a woman named Elaine at a beauty salon. We were waiting outside. But unexpectedly, both of them disappeared from the salon, and even the staff there seemed to have vanished." At that moment, Isaac immediately thought of Charlie. He recalled the intense confrontation between Charlie and Cynthia at Sky Garden, which had left relations extremely tense. There was a real possibility that Charlie was involved. Without hesitation, Isaac called Charlie and asked urgently, "Master, where are you right now?" Charlie replied casually, "I'm at home." "What's wrong?" Isaac felt his heart tighten as he asked bluntly, "Master, did you kidnap your aunt?" Charlie frowned deeply. "No. I wouldn't even bother to see her. Why would I kidnap her? Is she missing?" Isaac exclaimed in shock, "What? You didn't do it? Then this is really bad." Charlie asked calmly but firmly, "What exactly happened?" Isaac quickly explained, "Your aunt went to the beauty salon to meet your mother-in-law. She insisted on speaking with her face to face. But afterward, she completely disappeared." Charlie's heart skipped a beat. He immediately pressed, "What about my mother-in-law? Is she missing too? Do you know what they talked about?" Charlie was deeply worried that Cynthia might have revealed his true identity to Elaine. The Banks family were enemies he had to eliminate sooner or later, while the Wade family remained uncertain, either potential allies or future threats. If his identity were exposed prematurely, it could place both himself and those around him in extreme danger. Until everything was settled, he had no intention of revealing the truth to Claire. But if both Cynthia and Elaine resurfaced together, hiding the truth might no longer be possible. Sensing Charlie's tension, Isaac quickly added, "Master, I don't know what they discussed or what exactly happened inside. All I know is that both your aunt and your mother-in-law are missing, and we need to find them as soon as possible." Charlie took control immediately and said decisively, "Contact Don Albert. His people are spread all over Oris Hill and have deep connections everywhere. They should be able to uncover some clues."